Chapter 22-23 Thunder-like suppression Hong. That punch split the earth. A large hole that permeated the entire city came out of thin air. That horrifying, earth-shattering blow was heading towards Xiaoyu. The sheer power alone took everyone around aback. Xiaoyu's face darkened, and he threw a punch out consciously, trying to resist. But as the fists collided head-on, there was a bang. Then there was the sound of crackling of bones. Xiaoyu's entire arm had been blasted away from the sheer power, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. This level of power, chaotic divine demon. Xiaoyu was terrified. Impossible. Are there no restrictions placed upon this earth? Everyone can only reach chaotic realm powers. Sword Emperor, how can he do that? Impossible. Xiaoyu was being torn apart. He did not know that the restrictions were only placed upon typical cultivators, and did not affect inverse cultivators. When Emperor Bai had given his all during the final fight against the Three Emperors world, along with the secret skills of Star Palace, amplifying his powers tenfold, he could have reached chaotic divine demon levels. But Jian Wushuang's fighting power now was stronger than Emperor Bai's. Emperor Bai needed the secret skills of Star Palace to reach chaotic divine demon levels. But for Jian Wushuang, with the ultimate phase of the inverse cultivation's 7th step mastered, bloodline power, and immemorial celestial body, he could hit chaotic divine demon levels even without secret skills of Star Palace. Jian Wushuang could crush Xiaoyu with pure power alone. That left Xiaoyu no room to even struggle against Jian Wushuang. Run! Xiaoyu finally got his act together. Or perhaps Jian Wushuang's power had frightened him. Grabbing his dagger with his bare hands, then releasing chaotic divine demon powers in a single punch? How could he block that when he could only perform pinnacle chaotic realm powers himself? He had to run. Don't think you can escape. Jian Wushuang glanced coldly at Xiaoyu and leapt over casually. The leap seemed casual, but it contained the power of space-time, making him endlessly faster than the speed at which Xiaoyu could escape. Immediately he caught up with Xiaoyu. He has rules of order. Xiaoyu glared. But Jian Wushuang had already pulled out his blood mountain sword and directly threw it up in the air, turning it into a large mountain. The bottom of the mountain had streaks of mysterious lines, forming a large black hole in an attempt to suck in Xiaoyu. Suppressing me? Dream on. Xiaoyu was enraged and started to struggle in a frenzy. Struggle? What's the use of that? Jian Wushuang could only sneer. The suppressive abilities of the Blood Mountain Sword increased in proportion with Jian Wushuang's own abilities. To activate the suppression, divine power had to be used. With Jian Wushuang's divine power being fully released to chaotic divine demon levels, how could the chaotic realm Xiaoyu possibly have blocked his suppression? No. No. Xiaoyu could only scream as his body approached the black hole. Brothers! Save me! Xiaoyu screamed as he transmitted his call for help to his brothers. After that, he was fully absorbed by the black hole. The large mountain reverted back to the Blood Mountain Sword once again, and landed in Jian Wushuang's hand. Jian Wushuang remained indifferent, as if he had simply suppressed a normal man, instead of an ancient era expert. His heart did not flutter at all. Indeed, an ancient era that could only demonstrate the 3rd stage Great Emperor powers no longer excited him anymore. He could suppress or kill them with a flip of his hand. But it looked completely different in front of all the cultivators. This. Emperor God Bai Xing of the Real Martial Arts Divine Church was dumbfounded. His eyes were almost falling out of their sockets. Sir God Mo Chiu and the rest were equally shocked. Perhaps the other cultivators could not feel much, for they do not know much about Xiaoyu's background anyway. But Emperor God Bai Xing and the other Sir Gods knew that Xiaoyu was an ancient era expert. An ancient era expert had been so easily suppressed? How could that happen? Emperor God Bai Xing was on the verge of collapse. But he came to his senses before long. Run! Emperor God Bai Xing led the escape. The other Sir Gods from the Real Martial Arts Divine Church were not slow either, and all started running away. If even Lord Xiaoyu could be so easily suppressed, none of them would stand a chance against Jian Wushuang. Emperor God Bai Xing was only thinking of returning to Real Martial Arts Divine Church and getting Xiaoyu's brothers to appear. He knew that the brothers were much stronger. Perhaps they stood a chance together against Jian Wushuang. As Emperor God Bai Xing and the rest were escaping, Jian Wushuang was still indifferent, not moving an inch. It was as if he was about to let them go. But not long after, a mysterious attack quietly struck the five of them. A trace of terror flashed across the eyes of the five of them. The next moment, 5 corpses were plunging straight for the ground. Dead. The leader of the real martial arts divine church and his 4 almighties, all dead. How are they dead? The Sword Emperor did not move at all. If I'm not wrong, he used a soul attack. The surrounding cultivators were in awe, looking at Jian Wushuang in respect. Jian Wushuang remained indifferent. Soul attack. Indeed, that was what he did. Chapter 22-24 Apologizing. My disciple, go pick up their treasures, Jian Wushuang instructed. Understood. He Xiao immediately took the treasures, and the Qianquan rings of Emperor God Bai Xing, and the others. He Xiao returned to Jian Wushuang. Master, do we still make our way towards the real martial arts divine church? No need for that. Jian Wushuang smiled. Xiaoyu mentioned his 2 brothers just now. Now that I have suppressed him, his brothers will definitely come for him. We just need to wait. Understood, He Xiao nodded. At that moment, within the real martial arts divine church's lair, 2 figures were cultivating in separate rooms within a secluded palace. Suddenly, Xiaoye's transmission came over. Both of them in the room opened their eyes immediately. Number 5. Xiao. Xiao. 2 figures immediately appeared within the palace. The soul power of both started to cover the entire real martial arts divine church. Number 5's not here. Along with the church leader and his chaotic realm disciples, a black-haired man with a black mark on his forehead said. Immediately they caught a senior from the real martial arts divine church and got hold of the story. Lineage of Star? Number 5's in trouble, let's go. The both of them then made their way to the city that Jian Wushuang was held up in. Within the huge city, countless cultivators gathered and stared in awe and fear towards the figure about the central void. Jian Wushuang had his hands crossed and was stood there casually, but his soul power was already spreading. Jian Wushuang immediately sensed 2 strong auras within his soul power radius. They're here. Jian Wushuang looked towards the void in front of him. The countless cultivators around followed Jian Wushuang's gaze and looked towards the void. At the edge of the void, 2 black dots appeared and were enlarging at an alarming rate. Finally, the 2 figures appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. One was in a black robe, black-haired, with a black mark on his forehead. He stood there, releasing no aura at all. The other man was red-haired in a red robe, with a fire mark on his forehead, exuding violent and hot aura. It felt like a burning flame. They took a glance at everyone around. Both of them also noticed Jian Wushuang. Number 5, where is he? The burly man with the flame mark shouted. Number 5. If you are talking about Xiaoyu, he's now suppressed, Jian Wushuang replied. Suppressed? You dare suppress my brother? The burly man was enraged, flames coming out from his eyes. There was no obvious fire, but everyone around could feel the heat and flames on them like they were being cooked alive. Retreat, let's move further away. The surrounding cultivators had to move to the edge of the city to escape from that fiery aura. So what if I did? Jian Wushuang had no fear. The nerve. The burly man was about to make his move. Brother, no rush. The black-haired young man stopped him. The black-haired man was obviously calmer than the burly man. He exhaled lightly and looked towards Jian Wushuang. You are from the lineage of stars and able to suppress our number 5. I assume you are the great sword emperor of this era? Yes, it is I. Jian Wushuang nodded, acknowledging it. Sword Emperor, I'm afraid there has been a misunderstanding. The 3 of us only wish to cultivate and restore our peak strength. We had no intention of making enemies with the lineage of stars, the black-haired man said. No intention? But you have already done it, Jian Wushuang replied coldly. That is the act of the real martial arts divine church, I assume. We had no intention of offending you or any other expert of this era. We hope you can forgive our brother, and we will be willing to compensate you for the trouble we've caused for your lineage of stars. The black-haired man was sincere. Apologize? Compensate? Haha. If I'm not wrong, those 2 blood slaves are the work of your brother, right? Jian Wushuang pointed towards the 2 blood slaves. The black-haired man's face darkened at the sight of them. Blood slaves were indeed one of Xiao's favorite pastimes. In the ancient era, he loved turning live cultivators into blood slaves. You know, one of the blood slaves belonged to the lineage of stars, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Your brother ruthlessly killed my lineage of stars expert and turned him into a blood slave. Before you arrived, he made his move against me as well. If not for my skills, I'm afraid I would have been turned into a blood slave as well. The black-haired man's face darkened with resentment. He had instructed Xiao many times to not act wantonly, but it seemed that Xiao obviously did not want to listen to him. Your Excellency, regardless of whether he is my brother, this issue will be put to an end if you release my brother. I will promise to never offend the lineage of stars. But if you insist on not releasing my brother, the black-haired man's voice deepened. So what if I'm not willing to release? Will you learn from your brother and turn me to a blood slave as well? Jian Wushuang sniggered. Looks like there is no longer room for negotiation. The black-haired man's eyes turned cold. The burly man beside him sneered. Number 2, why waste time with words? Just kill him already. The flame and heat immediately encompassed the entire city, burning the void. Many buildings, and even the ground below, succumbed to the sea of fire. Immediately, the city's buildings were burned to ash. Chapter 22-25 It begins. My gosh. Luckily we retreated far away, if not too terrifying. The huge city disappeared in a blink of an eye. The many cultivators that had retreated to the edges of the city were horrified as they watched the sea of fire sweep over the city. In the middle of that sea of fire, the burly man, now with a flaming axe, was the lord within the sea of fire. To the side, the black-haired man took out a black spear, his entire being looking as though it had morphed into a black hole that devoured everything. The auras of both of them reached their maximum. This aura feels like pinnacle 3rd stage, stronger than Lord Fun but not Kaiser Blood levels. Jian Wushuang's lips were raised. He was referring to Kaiser Blood Emperor's consciousness embodiment. The consciousness embodiment Kaiser Blood was already at pinnacle 3rd stage. Yet Emperor Bai could easily suppress him. These two people were not even at Kaiser Blood's level. Sword Emperor, for the last time, will you let go of Xiaoyu? The black-haired man's voice became cold. Nope. Jian Wushuang gently shook his head. You wanna die? The black-haired man's face darkened. Kill him already. The burly man was extremely bloodthirsty, and without hesitation, both experts made their moves. The two great ancient era experts had not much intention to clash with experts of the current era. Their intentions were much simpler. They simply wanted to restore their strength peacefully. And once the time was up, head for heaven's horizon. But not wanting to clash with the current era's experts did not mean that they feared them. At least they did not fear Jian Wushuang. From the information they had received, the scariest expert around was Emperor Bai. And Jian Wushuang, even though he had been critical in the fight between the 3 emperors world 20,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang had been able to release such power due to his trump card, and it would be hard to use it again. Jian Wushuang's true power seemed to be at pinnacle chaotic realm in their opinion, nothing more than an ordinary 3rd stage great emperor. But their fighting power were both pinnacle 3rd stage. If they teamed up, they could even fight Emperor Bai. What was a sword emperor going to do to stop them? I gave you a chance, don't blame us. The black-haired man shouted and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. A terrifying dark aura came bursting out as his black spear pierced forward. Howl! A dragon's cry resonated. A huge dark dragon appeared, circling around that spear, while that eerie spear was sparkling in front of the chest of Jian Wushuang. The horrifying speed and explosive power of that spear seemed menacing. Yet Jian Wushuang had no intention of dodging. The next moment, the black spear went straight through his body, but no flesh or blood could be seen. Jian Wushuang's body gradually turned into nothing. What? The black-haired man's face darkened, immediately locking eyes with Jian Wushuang at the void not far away. That was fast. That kid actually got a bit of space-time rules, and he knows how to use it well. The black-haired man was shocked. What he did not know was that Jian Wushuang had practiced in the tower for 1,000 years. While practicing with the experts, he had mastered both swordsmanship and rules of order. Thousands of years of slaughter had improved his swordsmanship and his rules of order. He had dodged the spear with space-time rules of order. Die! The monstrous voice could be heard everywhere. The burly man with the flaming axe struck down at Jian Wushuang's side. But before the axe could come down, the rising heat could have been felt first. If it had been any ordinary expert, or even a great emperor, the heat alone would have stopped breaths and made them lose all ability to resist. But Jian Wushuang was not affected by it all, and threw a punch. Pung! The huge axe and fist crashed head-on. Based on how sharp the axe was, it should have cut off Jian Wushuang's entire hand. But in fact, Jian Wushuang's hand was not affected at all, and the power of his hand even passed on towards the burly man. The burly man could feel a sharp pain in his arm. That power! Shocked, the burly man retreated. And soon the sea of fire started retreating. The man was now covered by the burning flames. Like a flaming giant, he raised his axe again. Flaming axe. Hua! 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 3 axe strikes were made, every move coming with boundless flame. HNGH, Jian Wushuang snorted without fear, and threw out 3 punches with his right fist. Pung! 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 3 explosions then followed the retreating body of the burly man. After a while he composed himself. Damn it, the restrictions on this earth are too strong. I threw 13 axe blows at him, but only the weakest 3 came out. If I could throw my 6th axe out, I would definitely cut the dude in 2, the burly man growled. He was dejected. As an ancient era expert, chaotic realm powers had been nothing to him in the past, but now he could only demonstrate chaotic realm powers himself. It never felt good to be restricted so tightly. Xiao, the black-haired man appeared beside the burly man. Watch out, Sword Emperor is stronger than we thought, black-haired man. I know. The burly man nodded and his face stiffened. Jian Wushuang watched the 2 people regather, and a smile was on his face. Both of you are not bad. Much better than Xiaoyu. Worthy for me to pull out my sword. Under that devious smile, the Blood Mountain sword showed in his hand once again. The sword was out. He was finally getting serious. Chapter 22-26 Execution. From his appearance to taking down Xiaoyu, to the previous attacks, Jian Wushuang had never pulled out his Blood Mountain sword for swordsmanship. At most, he had used the Blood Mountain sword's suppressive abilities to suppress Xiaoyu. Now finally, Jian Wushuang was about to perform his sword skills. His abilities were finally being revealed. Brother, I have a bad hunch about this, be careful. The black-haired man stared at Jian Wushuang and said. The burly man nodded. Jian Wushuang in front of them finally made his move. A casual step, yet it contained endless power of space-time, and he appeared in front of the burly man. Jian Wushuang casually swung his sword, like a child playing with a wooden stick. It was soft, there was no strength to it at all. It looked ordinary to the people watching, and rightfully so. It was indeed a very ordinary casual sword move. But such a casual sword move can be drastically different in nature when done by Jian Wushuang. Space could not hinder his sword at all. The burly man's face darkened, but he dared not be reckless. He took his fiery axe and swung down, the endless sea of fire charging for the sword. Dang! It was a crisp sound. Jian Wushuang's arm shook slightly, pulling back his Blood Mountain sword. He twisted his wrist and held his sword horizontally, the body of the sword now forming a whip which was heading towards the burly man. Jian Wushuang had trained in the Sword Doctrine Trial Tower for a millennium. He had achieved a new understanding of sword principle. Now, his usage of swordsmanship was unprecedented. To him now, not only the blade could be used to kill the enemy, the body, the handle, any part of the sword can be used. The Blood Mountain sword left a blood shadow in the void and struck the burly man's axe. An overbearing power was passed over, enough for the burly man to grunt, almost causing him to let go of his axe. After the sword move forced the burly man into a retreat, he could feel several wind-breaking sounds heading for him. It was the black-haired man with his spear. His spear was as fast as a viper coming out of its hole, heading for Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang smiled. As he raised his Blood Mountain sword, Jian Wushuang turned into a huge beast that could devour everything in its way. The beast was roaring as an overwhelming explosion of swordsmanship burst out. Jian Wushuang held the sword with one hand and pierced it straight forward. Instantly the huge beast pounced in dense, endless sword shadows decimated the black-haired man's spear tactics. The black-haired man's face darkened and started to spin the spear like a fiery wheel. Pap! Pap! Dang! Dang! Continuous clashes were heard. The dense, endless sword shadows were all blocked by the black-haired man's spear. The wild beast slowly disappeared. But after it had disappeared, a figure took its place and appeared less than 10 meters in front of him. Crap! The black-haired man was shocked. A scarlet sword light appeared in front of the youth's chest, tearing through his defensive armor, crushing all his internal organs. Sword Principal Xian Luo. Sanguis Extremis style. The black-haired man's eyes dimmed before he could scream. Second brother! The burly man broke down immediately upon that sight. Ah! The burly man let out a hysterical howl, his expression wild. Faced with such endless rage, the sea of fire he was surrounded in turned crimson red. The fiery mark between his eyebrows let out a dazzling light as well, and immediately mysterious patterns emerged from the mark and surrounded his body. Covered by those mysterious patterns, the burly man looked savage. You will die for what you have done. The burly man looked at Jian Wushuang with murderous intent and strode over. Hung long long. An overwhelming aura had locked onto Jian Wushuang. He became stronger? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. I guess he demonstrated some sort of secret skill at a very high cost, his powers bursting out to be almost half-step divine demon levels. Shouldn't be that easy here with the restrictions. Jian Wushuang was right. The burly man had indeed performed a powerful secret skill, but its side effects are astonishing. Most importantly, he could only keep it up for 3 breaths. 3 breaths was the limit. Even with your secret skill, you only reached half-step divine demon. Jian Wushuang smiled. As the burly man charged at him in a frenzy, Jian Wushuang greeted him directly without fear. Flaming axe. Hua! 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 5 axe shadows, each one cutting down with endless flame. It was the same stunt, but this time he barely managed to perform 5 axe moves. But 5 was his limit. Jian Wushuang held the sword with one hand, and as the axe was coming for him, a sharp light flashed across his eyes. Who? A wind strong enough to destroy everything around came. The storm could tear great emperor experts apart. But the storm was the beginning of Jian Wushuang's sword move. Like a storm, it was Sword Principal Xian Luo's most powerful move, Blast Rainstorm. As Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship improved, the power of the Sword Principal Xian Luo started to surface as well, along with Jian Wushuang's current chaotic divine demon power. Hua! The sword light flashed past mercilessly. The sea of fire was cut into 2. As for the 5 axe shadows under the sword light, pung, 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 pung. There were 5 impacts, and the burly man's battle axe was thrown away. How is this possible? The burly man's eyes were wide open in astonishment. But the sword light was already in front of him, the endless storms flooding around him. Chapter 22-27 Control the endless storm soon came to a rest. The fire that swallowed the entire city has gradually dissipated as well. The peace of the earth was restored. At the center of the earth, Jian Wushuang put his blood mountain sword in his Qianquan ring, gazing at the 2 corpses below him. 2 ancient era experts. Indeed, your powers were way stronger than they were in the ancient era. I can take you all down, because you were not able to perform pinnacle powers. But because of this, it shows that you no longer dominate this era, Jian Wushuang murmured. He had no pity for the 2 corpses. Perhaps the 2 ancient era experts truly had no intention of provoking the top powerhouses of the era. They indeed had no intention to provoke Jian Wushuang either. But what they did could not be tolerated by Jian Wushuang. They had turned a pinnacle Sir God, and even an emperor god, into a blood slave. Those were not the actions of a decent man. If he had allowed the 3 ancient era experts to remain, they would eventually pose a threat to the eternal chaotic world. Master. Yixiu reappeared in front of Jian Wushuang, his eyes full of fanaticism. He was a Sir God expert too. He could feel how powerful the two people Jian Wushuang had slain were. Unexpectedly, the two were much stronger than all those great emperors from the eternal chaotic world. But even when they teamed up, they were easily cut down by his master. The strength of his master, the backing of the real martial arts divine church has now been removed. What happens next shall be left to Hall Master Wushuang. Let's go. Jian Wushuang said directly. Yes, He Xiao nodded. Immediately, He Xiao and Jian Wushuang left. When they left, the countless cultivators that had witnessed that battle were completely blasted away. Many cultivators had enjoyed watching that battle. The battle to them was perhaps the scariest battle they had seen in their lives. Too strong, they were too strong. Compared to them, let alone almighties, even an ordinary great emperor could not do anything. They also knew after that battle, the real martial arts divine church was truly over. Even though Jian Wushuang had removed those almighties and 3 ancient era experts, the real martial arts divine church was still around. But without the almighties and backings, the church would collapse in a matter of time. The lineage of stars would never forgive the church, and other forces would soon eat up their territory anyway. The real martial arts divine church had nothing to counter them with. Jian Wushuang was only in charge of wiping out the backings. He could not be bothered to handle the rest. Above the vast void, an ancient spaceship hurried away. In the ship, Jian Wushuang stood alone in a secret room, with the Blood Mountain sword floating in front of him. Xiaoyu, how does it feel? Not bad, right, being suppressed? Jian Wushuang smiled as his voice was transmitted into the Blood Mountain sword. Xiaoyu was full of despair within the Blood Mountain sword. He was already suppressed by Jian Wushuang with a serious injury, with no time to recover. Being suppressed also meant that a large number of torture techniques were being used on him, courtesy of the Blood Mountain sword. There were many kinds of torture. Torture of the body, the mind, the soul. After Xiaoyu had been suppressed, he had been suffering from soul torture. So painful, even an ancient expert could not handle it. In the beginning, he had been cursing and shouting, with no intention of bowing to Jian Wushuang. On the contrary, he had kept threatening Jian Wushuang to let him out. Otherwise his brothers would definitely not let it pass. Even though Jian Wushuang had ignored him, Xiaoyu had still been confident. He believed his brothers would save him and crush this Jian Wushuang ant for him. Sure enough, they had come and fought against Jian Wushuang. Xiaoyu had witnessed the fight clearly through the Blood Mountain sword. But he had not expected things to end up this way. Dead. His brothers had been killed by Jian Wushuang? No. Impossible. Xiaoyu was in disbelief, but eventually, he had to accept the fact. It sent him into despair. If even his brothers could be slaughtered by Jian Wushuang, who would save him? Or who could? Now Jian Wushuang's consciousness had finally arrived. You're the devil. Xiaoyu had completely lost it. The devil. Haha. You should have lived much longer than anyone here. But your mentality has been the same. Jian Wushuang felt disdain. The longer one lived, the stronger their mentality should be. But Xiaoyu, an ancient era expert, could not even fight against some Sir gods in terms of mentality. Xiaoyu, I have some questions to ask you, Jian Wushuang asked. HNGH, you think you'll answer? Xiaoyu replied coldly. You will. Jian Wushuang smiled deviously. Xiaoyu, you know why I kept you but killed your 2 brothers? Because you're much easier to control, Jian Wushuang smiled. Control? Xiaoyu froze, but his face darkened greatly in the next moment. At the same time, Xiaoyu could feel a boundless soul power coming for him. Soul power, you want to use soul control on me? Wish on. Xiaoyu was enraged. Soul control was worse than death, no better than blood slaves. Regardless of if it was during the ancient era or the current era, cultivators would rather die than allow themselves to be soul-controlled. Thus, Xiaoyu's soul power in his consciousness surged immediately, obviously wanting to resist. But soon he realized, Jian Wushuang's soul power was so much stronger, and he simply could not resist. Chapter 22-28 Jian Air. I'm an ancient era expert. After all, I was a chaotic divine demon. Even though the restrictions on this earth greatly weaken my soul power, but not to the extent that a chaotic realm could control me? Xiaoyu could not believe what was happening. He did not know that 20,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang had used the soul-swallowing pearl to perform the three divine lights, a soul attack skill against Demon King Qinyu. In the 20,000 years of his sleep, his soul power had greatly improved. His soul attack was naturally stronger than the rest's. Jian Wushuang now with his soul-swallowing pearl and netherlight scripture from the three divine lights to help him with soul control. Who could stop him? In addition, it had already been some time since Jian Wushuang had left the real martial arts divine church area. Why did he look for Xiaoyu now? Because Jian Wushuang wanted Xiaoyu to suffer just a bit more in the Blood Mountain sword, rendering him weak and defenseless. No, no. I will not let you control me even if it means death, Xiaoyu screamed, even about to ignite his soul. But soon he realized the soul power that had infiltrated his consciousness had already corroded his soul power, controlling his consciousness. It would be wishful thinking to attempt to ignite his soul. Crap! Xiaoyu's face was dark as ash, but soon he started to calm down. Xiaoyu's two brothers were too strong for me to control, so I had to kill them. Xiaoyu's different, Jian Wushuang smiled. His soul power was already dominating Xiaoyu's consciousness, wiping away his consciousness. Within moments, the soul control was complete. As Jian Wushuang waved his hands, Xiaoyu appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Xiaoyu at that moment was very calm. Master! Xiaoyu respectfully stood beside Jian Wushuang, his gaze full of fanaticism. This sort of fanaticism was only found when one was completely under another's soul control. From today, your name shall be Jian Air, Jian Wushuang said. Yes, Xiaoyu now Jian Air nodded respectfully. Sit down. There are some things I would like to ask you, Jian Wushuang said. Jian Air immediately sat down in front of him. Talk to me about you and your brothers in the ancient era, Jian Wushuang said. Jian Air, being completely controlled by Jian Wushuang, showed no defiance and began talking about it. Master, my two brothers and I were from the ancient era's Divine Dream Heaven sect, one of 8 big holy sections. Although we were nothing against the 3 big holy land and 4 big holy tribes, we were good. Divine Dream Heaven sect? Jian Wushuang nodded quietly. He knew about ancient era factions. The 3 big holy lands, 4 big holy tribes, and 8 big holy sects were all elite factions, and the 7-star Black sect. There were many experts within the Divine Dream Heaven sect. Us 5 brothers were all chaotic divine demon, but we were still nothing within the sect. Luckily, my eldest brother was the highest amongst chaotic divine demons, so we were able to obtain some resources. After the war broke out, the 5 brothers went into battle against the 7-star Black sect, but during then number 3 and 4 fell, leaving the 3 of us but in a stasis. The slumber lasted a very long time. We woke up once but, realizing the restrictions on this earth, went back to sleep. The 3 of you woke up once? Jian Wushuang frowned. Indeed, but we soon realized the era was completely different to the one we had lived in. The spiritual influence of heaven and earth was weak, and there are all sorts of restrictions. Under those circumstances, we won't be able to restore our powers. In fact, we would have lost our powers. Take me, for example. I was at chaotic divine demon in the ancient era, but when I woke up and stayed around, my maximum potential fell. Even if I reached pinnacle fighting power, it would be pinnacle chaotic realm, Jian Air said. What? Jian Wushuang flinched. It was better to not wake up? Waking up would gradually shred them of their powers. The land that they were in had that kind of power as well. Because of that, we had to continue to sleep to ensure our maximum potential would not drop, in hopes of eventually restoring pinnacle fighting power, Jian Air said. If that's the case, why have you all woken up once again? Why within the eternal chaotic world? Jian Wushuang asked. Because the chance we have been waiting for is finally here, Jian Air said. What chance? Jian Wushuang asked. 3,900 years later, heaven's horizon. Jian Air replied. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. We received news. 3,900 years later, someone at the heavens horizon will establish a link between this land and our homeland, back to the Divine Dream Heaven sect. Jian Air said solemnly. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was full of questions. Back to your homeland? Back to the Divine Dream Heaven sect. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank. There are other lands beside this? No, not another land. This is the same land as my homeland, but someone locked it and isolated it completely. Jian said. Chapter 22-29 7-Star Divine Realm. Though Jian Wushuang was overwhelmed by this new information, he did not display his surprise. Actually, he had guessed it some time ago. The land was not the endpoint. The ancient era was not as simple as he had thought. He had confirmed that after the final battle between the Three Emperors' world, the Blood Emperor of the Three Emperors' world at that time had no intention of dominating or ruling the land. He had intended to destroy the entire eternal chaotic world. The Blood Emperor wanted to destroy all life within the eternal chaotic world to start his Kruer formation. But what was his purpose? If the eternal chaotic world was really the endpoint, then what was the point of killing all life to reach a higher level? He would be alone then. If the Blood Emperor's motive was limited to the land, he would not have done that. The only explanation would be that there existed another wider land beyond the current one. Jian words confirmed it. Jian, you mean the land I am on now is one with your homeland? What does that mean? Jian Wushuang inquired. Master, the land you are on, now the eternal chaotic world, was a part of my homeland absolute beginning divine world, under the 7-Star divine realm ruled by the 7-Star Black Sect, the powerhouse of the ancient era. Jian powerhouse, stronger than Divine Dream Heaven sect I assume, Jian Wushuang said. Of course, Divine Dream Heaven sect was strong, but nothing compared to the 7-Star Black Sect. Even the 8 big holy sects, for big holy tribes, could not compare. The 7-Star Black Sect was the best in the ancient era. No one could say no. All the other factions had to step to one side, Jian said. Jian Wushuang could not help but shudder. He knew the 7-Star Black Sect was strong, but not that strong. Absolute beginning divine world should be the beginning of everything. And the end. But 7-Star Black Sect was the top force within the absolute beginning divine world? How strong were they? But even they were exterminated. Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh. Yes, they were strong. No one could take them on individually. But then all the sects, 3 big holy lands, 4 big holy tribes, 8 big holy sects, and countless divine demons fought their way into the 7-Star divine realm. About half of absolute beginning divine world's experts, Jian said, still in awe of what had happened. He had fought in that battle. He knew how terrifying that battle had been. But only with such a terrifying power could they enter the 7-Star divine realm. Jian, do you know why they attacked the 7-Star divine realm? Was it because they were too strong, pressuring the rest? Jian Wushuang said. I do not know. Jian shook his head. Master, there were too many experts then, countless divine demons, and many even higher than that. My 4 brothers and I were inconsequential in that battle like dust. Like dust? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Chaotic divine demons in the ancient era were nothing more than dust? It was too scary. We simply followed our sect's orders to kill all 7-Star Black Sect experts. As for why the battle started, only my clan leader and top elder knew. The other elders were not even qualified to know, much less us. But it should not be because the 7-Star Black Sect was too strong. They were strong, but they did not have many enemies. Without any specific reason, the other forces would never have agreed to work together, Jian said. Jian Wushuang nodded. The 7-Star Black Sect must have known how to handle relations to become the absolute beginning divine world's powerhouse. There had to be another reason for them to force the other sects to exterminate the 7-Star Black Sect. Jian Wushuang could not guess the reason for it either. Jian continue. What happened after? Jian Wushuang asked. After that, with the 3 big Holy Land leaders leading the charge, they broke into the 7-Star divine realm. The 7-Star Black Sect resisted and fought back. The entire 7-Star divine realm collapsed, turning into battlefield after battlefield. Countless experts died, fallen, missing. Even experts beyond chaotic divine demon levels fell. But ultimately, the 7-Star Black Sect was defeated. They lost badly. All 7-Star Black Sect disciples were killed. Only a few higher-ups were left struggling. But as the other experts were about to wipe out every 7-star Black Sect experts, one elite expert managed to activate a formation that opened the heavens. With that formation activated, 7-star divine realms, countless divine demons, and experts' divine power and blood essence were sucked away in a moment. Many experts felt it and managed to escape in time, but some did not. That formation became a huge blockade between the 7-star divine realm and absolute beginning divine world. As for the rest, I guess you already know, Master. Chapter 2232. Jian Wushuang fell silent. He knew what happened after that. After the land was blocked by the formation, cut away from the absolute beginning divine world, many experts, including the 7-star Black Sect that remained, were all damaged by it. The restriction had forced them to a deep slumber as well, leading to the end of the ancient era. Everything after that was publicly known. As the restriction grew larger, the spiritual influence of heaven and earth grew thinner, and with fewer experts, then the first era, then the current second era. Do you know who placed the formation? Jian Wushuang asked. The expert was strong, even as good as the master of the Holy Land. I do not know of his past, but I heard the Divine Dream Heaven sect leader mention a name. Xian Yi. Jian said. Jian Wushuang's pupil shrank sharply. Xian Yi. His master Xian Yi. When he had asked Jian Yi, he too had said that the formation that had led to experts into deep slumber was a man named Xian Yi. The formation was really placed by Master? Jian Wushuang was taken aback. He knew how scary the formation was. The formation forcibly split the land from the rest of the absolute, beginning divine world. The absolute beginning divine world had countless experts, but could never come over. The restrictions were all caused by the formation. No wonder back at the Blood Emperor Sanctuary grounds, Master had been about to control and add the restrictions to Blood Emperor. Jian Wushuang murmured. The restrictions had been created by Xian Yi. The restrictions were from that formation. Xian Yi, being the creator of the formation, could naturally control it. Jian Wushuang thought to himself, and a painting floated in his mind. The painting was the same ancient image he had seen in the Chiliwen Valley. The painting depicted a burly man with a big forehead, surrounded by countless experts. But even then, the man would not give up and crumbled heaven and earth. That image gave Jian Wushuang a feeling that it was the one Jian had just mentioned. The moves that the man made were probably to activate the formation. If that was the case, then the man's identity. Jian Wushuang shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Jian since you received news about Heaven's Horizon opening a path 3,900 years later to absolute beginning divine world, that means it was not just the three of you that woke up, right? Jian Wushuang asked. Definitely, Jian nodded. But I do not know how many woke up. Jian Wushuang nodded, but that slightly stressed him. He was currently undefeatable in his era, but he was nothing compared to those ancient experts. If not for the restrictions, Jian Wushuang would be nothing but a tiny ant in their eyes. But even with the restrictions, those ancient era experts were not to be messed with. He took a deep breath and pulled out a token. Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang was transmitting to him. Jian Wushuang, what is it? Emperor Bai replied. I just came back from the Real Martial Arts Divine Church and met with some ancient era experts, Jian Wushuang said. Ancient era experts? You too. Emperor Bai's voice deepened. Too. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. Guess you know too. Transmission's not convenient. Come over to Thunderbolt Island. We can talk about this face to face, Emperor Bai said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded. Soon, he turned his ship to head towards Thunderbolt Island. Along the way, he continued to ask Jian some questions about the absolute beginning divine world, and took time to investigate Jian and his brother's Qian Kuan ring. They were ancient era experts after all. Their treasures were nothing ordinary. Jian Wushuang found many valuable items. 10 odd divine weapons when combining all 3 Qian Kuan rings. Each had a genuine chaos divine weapon, with several defensive armors. There were 8 secret skills as well, all formidable, but it was a pity that Jian Wushuang had no use for it. There were fewer treasures, especially natural treasures and elixirs. Ancient era experts needed large amounts of natural treasures and elixirs to maintain their powers. It was no wonder that they had all been used up. That was why the three brothers had remained within the real martial arts divine church. They had needed them to gather resources. The rewards were plentiful. Though Jian Wushuang had no use for them, he could pass them down to Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars, especially the 8 secret skills. One of the secret skills of body refinery could not be compared to Jian Wushuang's immemorial celestial body, but was much better than Eternal Chaotic World's own protective secret skills. He passed it to He Xiao immediately. After a simple check, He Xiao found a use for it. After that, both of them went their separate ways. He Xiao returned to the Lineage of Stars, whereas Jian Wushuang made his way to Thunderbolt Island. Thunderbolt Island, within the Presbytery Pavilion. The Presbytery Pavilion was where the higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance gathered. But only Emperor Bai was around. Emperor Bai could tell the moment Jian Wushuang stepped into the Presbytery Pavilion. A breakthrough. Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. He could sense a great change in Jian Wushuang's aura. That can only happen when one advanced from the second stage of the 7th step to the final stage. Without a doubt, Jian Wushuang had surpassed himself. How could you do it so quickly? Emperor Bai was shocked. He practiced inverse cultivation as well. He knew how hard it was. It needed a large amount of divine power. Chapter 2231 Blackwater Dragon Emperor Bai had reached the second stage of the 7th step back during the first era. Even when the first era collapsed, he had not been able to reach the ultimate stage of the 7th step, and spent quite some time in the second era before he broke through. He had spent an entire era, countless treasures, to finally reach the base requirements for his breakthrough. But Jian Wushuang? It was not long since he reached the second stage of his inverse cultivation's 7th step. But now he had reached the ultimate stage. Jian Wushuang, your speed of progress is really enviable, Emperor Bai exclaimed. Haha, I was just lucky. Jian Wushuang casually laughed it off. Emperor Bai frowned. You must have received some sort of amazing opportunity. To him, without such an opportunity, it was impossible for Jian Wushuang to reach such a breakthrough. And that was indeed the case. Emperor Bai knew it, but he did not intend to probe more. Previously you said you encountered an ancient era expert. Tell me what happened? Emperor Bai asked. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and described his experience in the real martial arts divine church. Three ancient era experts? Emperor Bai's eyes narrowed. What happened to the 3 of them? I killed 2 of them. The other one now my sword servant via soul control. Jian Wushuang did not conceal anything. Emperor Bai was shocked, but soon he was relieved. Before reaching the ultimate stage, Jian Wushuang's fighting power was already very aggressive. Emperor Bai knew how much one's fighting power would increase by the moment he stepped into the ultimate stage. Jian Wushuang now definitely possessed ancient era expert slaying abilities. Emperor Bai, you mentioned a 2 previously? What's happening? There are others that encountered ancient era experts? Jian Wushuang asked. Yep. Emperor Bai nodded. 300 years ago, at the Colored Glaze Sanctuary, Colored Glaze herself seemed to have encountered an ancient era expert. Seemed? Jian Wushuang frowned. I say seemed because we are not sure. Colored Glaze wanted to engage him, but the opponent simply glanced at her, and she lost the courage to make her move. According to her, the opponent's aura was extremely terrifying, and she would have died without a struggle if she had engaged him. Emperor Bai said. Oh. Jian Wushuang frowned. He knew about Great Emperor Colored Glaze. She was an elite first-stage Great Emperor. If she had encountered a second-stage Great Emperor, she would have been so scared as to lose courage. If the opponent could make her feel that way, it meant that the opponent was definitely a decent third-stage Great Emperor, possibly Pinnacle, and definitely not weaker than Jian Er's 2 elder brothers. I asked Colored Glaze personally. She said the opponent's aura felt very similar to mine. Emperor Bai said. Then it has to be an ancient era expert, Jian Wushuang said. The top 2 experts of the Eternal Chaotic World were Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. There was no other third-stage Great Emperor besides the 2 of them. The restrictions on the second era were too powerful. making it hard to produce third-stage great emperors. Under those circumstances, there was only one logical explanation for an expert's fighting powers to be similar to Emperor Bai's. The opponent was from the ancient era. He should be an ancient era expert, but we cannot be sure. Luckily, the opponent did not engage or stir up any mess within the colored glaze sanctuary, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang nodded. As long as terrifying ancient era experts did not stir up any trouble within the eternal chaotic world, the Sanctuary Alliance would not provoke them. Like Emperor 13, in the beginning, no one had known what he wanted to do nor how powerful he was. As long as he did not provoke the Sanctuary Alliance, they did not care. Even if Emperor 13 were to start a slaughter within the eternal chaotic world, as long as it was not out of hand, the Sanctuary Alliance would not care. Besides the suspected ancient era expert colored glaze saw, there was another incident 30 years ago at the Red Dragon Sanctuary, Emperor Bai said. What was it? Jian Wushuang asked. It was a city. A lot of cultivators disappeared within the city in a short period of time, leaving an aura of coldness that covered the city in a layer of ice, Emperor Bai said. This stirred some waves in the Red Dragon Sanctuary then, but Red Dragon himself was not particularly bothered by it. But afterwards 2 other cities and a sect suffered the same treatment. Red Dragon started treating it seriously, and after some research, they realized it was the work of a black water dragon. Black water dragon? Jian Wushuang's gaze moved, but something about it felt familiar. Afterwards, 5 years ago, when the black water dragon made its move on another city again, Red Dragon was able to reach there in time, but in the end, Red Dragon almost got himself killed by the Black Water Dragon, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Red Dragon King had been ranked second in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list in the past. Though the list needed some refreshing, he still possessed second-stage Great Emperor powers. But Red Dragon King was almost killed? How powerful was that Black Water Dragon? Emperor Bai, did Red Dragon King have any projected image of the Black Water Dragon? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, Red Dragon recorded it himself, Emperor Bai said, and took out a token. With a wave, a large projected image appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed as he watched the projected image. Chapter 2232 Why the First Era Collapsed Part 1, It's It. Jian Wushuang could not help but clench his fists as a fit of rising anger surrounded him. Jian Wushuang, have you come across this black water dragon? Emperor Bai asked. Of course I've seen it. Jian Wushuang watched Red Dragon King via a projected image as he fought the black water dragon furiously. The black water dragon was massive, constantly spitting out cold air, easily freezing almighties upon contact. Jian Wushuang could not help but recall the years when he had been in the deepest parts of the Buddhist Demon Sea. There, he had seen the exact same black dragon. Since the black water dragon appeared, the ancient era expert behind it has probably awakened as well, and lurking around the Red Dragon Sanctuary, Jian Wushuang murmured. Jian Wushuang, you mean there is an ancient era expert behind the dragon? Emperor Bai frowned. The black water dragon in the projected image was terrifying. No one other than strong third-stage great emperors could have engaged it. Now there was an ancient era expert behind the dragon? Emperor Bai, I've seen it, I know where it comes from. Jian Wushuang started describing his experience. Buddhist Demon Sea? The dragon? Emperor Bai was shocked. As far as I know, there are at least 2 ancient era experts in slumber within the Buddhist Demon Sea. One of them is One-Star Man, likely from the 7-star Black Sect. He's indebted to me. He would not hurt the eternal chaotic world even if he did awaken. But another person, the owner of the Black Water Dragon, from the 7-star Black Sect's opposing camp is there too. From how the dragon behaves, I don't think the person's friendly, Jian Wushuang said. Emperor Bai nodded subtly. Colored Glaze encountered a suspected ancient era expert previously, then one at Red Dragon Sanctuary, then 3 more you encountered yourself. Looks like a lot of ancient era experts are awakening, Emperor Bai said. Indeed, because they all received a transmission. 3,900 years later, Someone will open a link passage at the heavens horizon for them to return to absolute beginning divine world. Jian Wushuang said. Absolute beginning divine world? Looks like you know everything. Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang and could tell he had been aware of it for quite some time already. Jian Wushuang nodded. Absolute beginning divine world, the beginning of everything. Emperor Bai sighed. The link to the absolute beginning divine world will finally be reopened again? Jian Wushuang's gaze moved. Emperor Bai, you mean the link had been opened once before? Emperor Bai fell quiet for a moment and nodded. Indeed, a long time ago during the First Era. It happened at Heaven's Horizon as well. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank. Jian Wushuang, as you know, I was from the First Era. But did you know how the First Era collapsed? Emperor Bai asked. Jian Wushuang shook his head consciously. He knew why the ancient era had collapsed from Jian Air. It was due to absolute beginning divine world's various sects attacking seven-star divine realm, leading to the collapse of that. But Jian Wushuang never knew why the First Era had collapsed. Does it have to do with the link passage at the heavens horizon? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, that link passage, Emperor Bai said. In the First Era, after the link passage opened at the heavens horizon, there were no ancient era experts that woke up. But on the other end of the passage, from the absolute beginning divine world, a large group of experts came barging in. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. You mean there were experts from the absolute beginning divine world in the First Era? Yes. Emperor Bai paused and said. The link passage closed the moment they arrived, and they started slaughtering the First Era. Slaughter? Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Jian Wushuang, you should know why the ancient era collapsed, and how this land came to be. The land we are on now was originally part of the seven-star divine realm. Although the seven-star divine realm has collapsed, it is undeniable that this land came from the seven-star divine realm, and we are cultivators born from the seven-star divine realm. When the experts from the absolute beginning divine world attacked the seven-star divine realm, they wanted all seven-star divine realm cultivators dead. Why would the experts from the First Era let us off the hook? They wanted to wipe every one of us from the First Era out, then link up with the other experts at the absolute beginning divine world to destroy the formation. They would wake all the ancient era experts up and kill them all, wiping out the seven-star black sect completely. Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold, wiping away all traces of the seven-star black sect and the seven-star divine realm. Jian Wushuang was amazed by the ruthlessness of those experts. The First Era was much more powerful than the Second Era, and experts then could naturally sense the enemy's purpose, so the war began. Emperor Bai continued. Experts that came from the absolute beginning divine world were minimally chaotic divine demons. Luckily, the restrictions on this earth were placed upon them as well, and only then were the cultivators of the First Era able to put up a fight. That battle took 5 days and 5 nights. Jian Wushuang, you would not be able to imagine how terrifying that fight was, way worse than the one we had with 3 Emperors' World. Especially at the end, cultivators ignited their souls or self-imploded, regardless of cost, all to defeat the enemy, and that led to decimation on both sides. Chapter 2233 Why the First Era Collapse Part 2 Perished Together? Jian Wushuang was amazed. Indeed, both sides perished. Countless First Era cultivators and many great emperors died on the same battlefield, leading to the collapse of the First Era. But only 3 experts that came from the absolute beginning divine world survived. Emperor Bai said. 3. Were they? Jian Wushuang suddenly glared. You guessed it. It's Blood Emperor, Lord Fun, and Demon King Chenyu, Emperor Bai said. It really is. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He had always thought Blood Emperor, Lord Fun, and Demon King Chenyu were ancient era experts that had woken up slightly earlier than others. Unexpectedly, those 3 people had not slept since the ancient era. Perhaps they had fought in the ancient era, then escaped, and come back once again during the First Era. They survived since the First Era, but did not stop. Rather, they continued to expand their sphere of influence for the upcoming battles. Therefore, the beginning of the 3 Emperors' World, Holocaust sect, and the Acheron Palace. They only managed to maintain their abilities with large amounts of resources and treasures, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang finally understood, but his face turned sour. The last time the link passage at Heaven's Horizon opened, experts from the absolute beginning divine world came down. Will the same thing happen this time? That is what I worry about, Emperor Bai replied. There were many experts in the first era to go against the absolute beginning divine world experts, but they had no choice but to perish with them. The second era does not nearly have so many experts, along with the injuries we inflicted during the battle against the three emperors' world. If the absolute beginning divine world experts were to come down, we wouldn't stand a chance. Jian Wushuang's face was extremely sour. He knew how big the ability gap was compared to the first era. Emperor Bai and he may have been strong, but if a large number of third-stage great emperors were to gang up on them, there was not much they could do. Do not rush this first, we still have 3,900 years. Furthermore, we cannot be sure if any experts will come down or not, Jian Wushuang said, and took out a transmission token. Emperor 13 was the strongest during the ancient era. He should know more about the formation placed on this land. I'll go ask him. Emperor 13. Jian Wushuang immediately called him. What is it? Emperor 13 quickly replied, his voice cold as usual. It's like this. Jian Wushuang talked about the link passage opening 3,900 years later, and many ancient era experts awakening. He also talked about the eternal chaotic world's current predicament. Link passage. Emperor 13 thought for a moment and replied, don't worry about that. The formation is not as simple as it looks. If those old bastards managed to open a space tunnel back then, and send their experts over, then the formation's restrictions would have been much stronger now. Even if all of them at the absolute beginning divine world were to join forces, they would still need some good treasures to open a link passage, and ITLL only lasts for a moment. There is no way they could open it. Emperor 13 said with unprecedented confidence. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor 13 was a supreme expert back at the absolute beginning divine world, and knows the most about the formation. If he dares say that, I'm sure no one from the absolute beginning divine world will come down once the link passage opens 3,900 years later, Jian Wushuang said. That's great. Emperor Bai was delighted. As long as they don't come down, we only need to deal with ancient era experts that recently woke up. A lot of them will be busy maintaining their powers as well. There won't be many attacking us, which should make our job much easier. Right, Jian Wushuang nodded. Without any experts coming down from the absolute beginning divine world, they only needed to deal with the ancient era experts. It may have been hard for the eternal chaotic world as of then, but not impossible. After all, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were invincible in the world. Unless another supreme expert like Emperor 13 appeared. But supreme experts like Emperor 13 should have been able to escape during the ancient era battle then. Based on Jian Wushuang's calculations, only experts of Blood Emperor's level remained. Without the opposing Blood formation, Blood Emperor's fighting power was only at half-step Divine Demon levels. Easy enough for Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai to deal with. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were still discussing it. But at that moment, Emperor Bai's gaze moved. What is it? Jian Wushuang immediately looked over. It's Red Dragon, he just transmitted a message to me. He says the Black Water Dragon has appeared again. Many cultivators in another city have disappeared. I've instructed Abysmal Saint Master and Underworld God to help him. But the three of them together may not be enough against the Black Water Dragon, and the ancient era expert behind it, Emperor Bai said. True. For us to kill it or the ancient era expert behind it, both of us must go down personally, Jian Wushuang said. If that's the case, let's go now, Emperor Bai said. Right, Jian Wushuang nodded. Soon, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai made their way to the Red Dragon Sanctuary. Chapter 2234 Three-Way Split Up Red Dragon Sanctuary. At a northern city. That city was not spectacular amongst the Red Dragon Sanctuary's many cities, but it had countless cultivators nevertheless. But now, the city fell silent. It was a dead city now. Within the city walls, the tall and mighty buildings remained standing, but they were swept with a coldness, frosting them all with a layer of ice. It was as if the entire city had frozen up. At the top void above the city, 3 figures stood in a line. They were Red Dragon King, Abysmal Saint Master, and Underworld God. They rushed over as soon as they heard the news, but obviously they were too late. The city had already frozen up by the time they had arrived. Everyone has vanished, just like before that dragon again. Red Dragon King clenched his fist, and his face turned green with anger. We came here as fast as we could, but still we were too late. Abysmal Saint Master frowned. Abysmal Saint Master, an underworld god, had received instructions from Emperor Bai to help Red Dragon King. The dragon is not to be messed with. I've transmitted to Emperor Bai. He should be on his way. Let's wait here in the meantime, Red Dragon King said. They waited above the city. Not long later, 2 figures were leaping over from a distance. The trio went up to greet them. Lord Emperor Bai, Sword Emperor. The trio bowed and looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. They had only expected Emperor Bai to come, but Jian Wushuang had followed as well. Red Dragon, how is it? Emperor Bai asked. We were too late. The Blackwater Dragon had left long ago. All the cultivators in the city have disappeared. Must have all been eaten up by the dragon, Red Dragon King said. Eaten up? Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang were taken aback. They knew that the cultivators from the previous few cities, and from that sect, were all eaten up by the Blackwater Dragon. Human cultivators were food to the Blackwater Dragon. As of now, 5 cities and 1 sect worth of cultivators have been eaten up by the Blackwater Dragon. If this persists, the Red Dragon Sanctuary will come to an end, Red Dragon King said. He was right. Only 30 years had passed since the appearance of the Blackwater Dragon, but 5 cities and 1 sect had already been attacked. And even though the Red Dragon Sanctuary was extremely large with over 1,000 cities, if the Blackwater Dragon kept eating up its cultivators, what would happen to the Red Dragon Sanctuary eventually? The Blackwater Dragon has quite a history. Should be from the ancient era. With an ancient era expert behind it, Emperor Bai said. Ancient era expert? The trio's faces darkened. They had assumed they were only going against the dragon. They did not expect an ancient era expert to be behind it. How the Blackwater Dragon axe hurts the Sanctuary Alliance. Therefore it cannot be allowed to stay. Jian Wushuang and I are here to take care of the dragon. And if we can to take care of the ancient era expert behind it as well. Emperor Bai said coldly. Red Dragon King was elated. Even with his abilities combined with Abysmal Saint Master and Underworld God, they could not do much to the dragon, much less the ancient era expert. But if Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang were to be in the picture, the whole game could change. With Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor's abilities combined, taking care of the Blackwater Dragon, and its ancient era expert behind it should be easy. The problem is we don't even know where they went, Red Dragon King said. I rush over every time I catch news regarding a Blackwater Dragon attack. But before I can arrive the dragon will have left a long time ago. I was lucky 5 years ago, being in a city near the one the dragon was attacking, but I was not enough to take it down. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai looked at each other. Indeed, they do not know where the Blackwater Dragon, nor its ancient era expert were. And looking for them within the enormous Red Dragon Sanctuary would be like picking a needle from the haystack. The only thing they could do was to wait for the Blackwater Dragon to make its next move, and hope to get there on time. How about we get a few great emperors from the Sanctuary Alliance, and spread them around, but keep them in contact with us. Regardless of which city or sect the dragon tries to attack, the nearby great emperor could at least try to buy us some time for us to go over, Abysmal Saint Master said. Not possible, Jian Wushuang shook his head. The Blackwater Dragon is powerful. Even the Red Dragon was nearly killed by it. If an ordinary first stage were to engage it, he'd definitely die. Emperor Bai and Red Dragon King nodded in agreement. If the Blackwater Dragon could almost kill a second stage great emperor like Red Dragon King, getting a first stage great emperor to engage it would be sending him to his death. How about this? We won't use the Sanctuary Alliance's experts. Just a few of us will do the job. Well, split into 3 teams at most, Jian Wushuang said. Emperor Bai and I will be our own teams individually. From how the Black Water Dragon fought Red Dragon King, in the projected image, the dragon is at 3rd stage Great Emperor levels. It may be strong, but it may not be pinnacle 3rd stage. Emperor Bai and I can handle him by ourselves. For the last team, Red Dragon King, Abysmal, Underworld God, along with my 2 sword servants. 5 people should be enough to fight the dragon face on. 2 sword servants. Abysmal looked towards Jian Wushuang in surprise. Sword Emperor, I thought you only had Jian Yi? When did you find another one? Haha, a new one, and he's pretty strong. Jian Wushuang said as he released Jian Air from his Blood Mountain sword. As Jian Air appeared, a strong aura exuded from him. Chapter 2235 Reappearance. This is 3rd stage Great Emperor? Abysmal Saint Master, Red Dragon King, and Underworld God were shocked by the aura exuded by Jian Air. A 3rd stage Great Emperor. Before him there had only been 2 of such Great Emperors, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. But now, Jian Wushuang's new sword servant was a 3rd stage Great Emperor? His name is Jian Air. Fought me before I soul-controlled him. He's injured because of me, so his fighting powers are only at 70%. It's still at the 3rd stage. With Jian Yi and the 3 of you, it's more than enough to handle the Black Water Dragon. But be wary of the ancient era expert behind it, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. Abysmal Saint Master and the rest nodded. Jian Wushuang transmitted for Jian Yi to rush for the Red Dragon Sanctuary. Once everyone was there, they split up. They divided themselves into 3, watching 3 parts of the Red Dragon Sanctuary. Red Dragon Sanctuary was a large sanctuary after all with vast lands. 3 teams made it easier to take care of. Coupled with various wormholes all over the Red Dragon Sanctuary, the 3 teams simply guarded the 3 largest wormholes. Red Dragon Sanctuary transmitted messages to all almighties, and some real gods as well, especially those experts that had guarded cities for years. They were to report to him directly if they were to encounter anything wrong within the city, or if the Black Water Dragon appeared, or if they felt a wave of coldness approaching them. From there, the team guarding that region would rush there immediately. That wouldn't guarantee they would catch the Black Water Dragon, but it would certainly increase their chances of doing so. Jian Wushuang and the rest waited quietly. They did not wait for too long. 3 years later, the Black Water Dragon appeared again, attacking a city. That city fell within Jian Wushuang's guarding domain, and he rushed over as soon as he could. But he was still too slow. The Black Water Dragon had just left. As he looked over the silent city now frosted in ice, Jian Wushuang could only shake his head and sigh. 2 years later, the Black Water Dragon appeared again in Jian Wushuang's territory, but Jian Wushuang did not reach it in time. Just another year later, the Black Water Dragon appeared in Jian Yi and Jian Air's territory, but it ended up the same. Since Jian Wushuang and the rest had split up, the Black Water Dragon had attacked thrice. 3 different cities, but they could never catch up in time. 3 times we've failed thrice, Red Dragon King sighed. We don't have a choice, the sanctuary is simply too wide. We may be able to split ourselves into teams, then move around via wormholes. But those wormholes don't reach there directly. We still need to change along the way. That takes a lot of time. Abysmal Saint Master sighed. No rush. We may have missed 3 times, but luck simply was not on our side, for the Black Water Dragon was simply too far from us. I don't believe its luck will last long, Emperor Bai said. Red Dragon King and the rest nodded. Indeed, like how Red Dragon King had managed to encounter the Black Water Dragon previously, though their chances of catching the Black Water Dragon had increased as they had split into teams, they still needed some luck. Right. Have you realized the Black Water Dragon's appetite is growing? Jian Wushuang suddenly said. Of course, it used to appear once every few decades or so, then every 5 years, then 3. Now it appears every year. Seems like it fancies how our cultivators taste, Red Dragon King said. HNGH, the bigger its appetite, the sooner I'll die. Wait till I use its bones for soup. Emperor Bai snorted. The few elites of the Sanctuary Alliance, along with Jian Wushuang's 2 sword servants, continued to wait along the Red Dragon Sanctuary. A vast plain. An endless plain. On the plain, an eerie man in black armor was walking forward slowly. His pace was slow, holding a tree branch to act as his walking stick. He had trouble walking. On the shoulders of this eerie man was a small black snake. Upon closer look, the black snake was covered in dark scales and had a little horn on its head. Suddenly the snake hissed coldly. The eerie man stopped in his tracks and looked towards the small black snake. "You're hungry again," the eerie man laughed casually. The black snake on his shoulders had an eerie gaze in its eyes. "Okay, I know you've been holding up previously. I'll let you eat till you're contented now. There should be a cultivator's city in front. Come back early," the eerie man instructed. The snake hissed excitedly and slid off the eerie man's shoulder. The small snake morphed into a bolt of lightning and headed for the city nearby. The eerie man smiled, and he sat down with his eyes shut as if he was waiting. After a while, the black snake appeared in front of the giant city. The city was one of the largest ones within the Red Dragon Sanctuary, with countless cultivators and an almighty. The little black snake could not contain its excitement. Suddenly, Wong, the small black snake's body was expanding at an alarming rate. Instantly, it became an enormous ancient flood dragon. Dark scales covered all over it. It exuded an eerie aura and revealed its two sharp and cold fangs. Immediately, a terrifying coldness rolled over the city. The entire city shook. Jian Wushuang and the others who had been waiting within the Red Dragon Sanctuary had received the news. The Black Water Dragon was back. Chapter 2236 Emperor Bai makes his move again? It's only been half a year. Jian Wushuang was the first to receive the news, and at the same time he knew where the Black Water Dragon was. A vast star map appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Divine Blade City here. Jian Wushuang looked at one of the cities in the star map. It's within Emperor Bai's domain, and he's not too far from it as well. He'll only need to jump through 2 wormholes to reach it within half an hour. Half an hour? Half an hour was extremely long for a slaughter, but the Black Water Dragon would definitely need some time to devour all the cultivators within the Divine Blade City. He should be able to make it. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists and headed for Divine Blade City. He was too far from the Divine Blade City. Even if he rushed through wormholes, he would need to change constantly, and that would take some time. He could only depend on Emperor Bai. Emperor Bai naturally rushed over to Divine Blade City as soon as he could. The enormous Divine Blade City was completely covered in ice and frost as the aura of coldness rolled over the city. Countless cultivators could sense the danger and started running for their lives, but they were no means faster than that cold breeze. In the end, all the cultivators froze like sculptures. The hidden almighty had no way to resist it either. The Black Water Dragon opened its mouth once again, but there was no more coldness, only a terrifying swallowing power. The swallowing power sucked in countless numbers of frozen cultivators. Bizarrely, the buildings and trees in the city were unmoved. The Black Water Dragon obviously only wanted cultivators. More than half of the cultivators had already been eaten up within a moment of time, yet it continued to devour. But at that moment, within a hidden space in Divine Blade City, a bright light lit up, and a figure stepped out of the wormhole, immediately appearing at the void above the city. As he looked around, Emperor Bai only saw the frozen city, and that Black Water Dragon devouring the human cultivators in a frenzy. A great murderous intent rose from Emperor Bai. "Beast!" Emperor Bai roared and immediately appeared in front of the Black Water Dragon. The Black Water Dragon could sense something, and its cold eyes flashed across. It shook its giant head around, replacing the terrifying swallowing power with the previous aura of coldness. The devastating aura of coldness could freeze even an ordinary great emperor. Even second-stage great emperors could do nothing but protect themselves from such coldness. But the Black Water Dragon was now facing Emperor Bai. Emperor Bai was recognized as the strongest within the eternal chaotic world. Even though Jian Wushuang's powers may have exceeded Emperor Bai's after his opportunity, but he had not displayed them in front of others, therefore maintaining Emperor Bai's position as the ultimate alpha. HNGH. A simple sneer roared across the heavens like thunder. Boundless golden divine power rolled over the lands and formed a giant golden divine power sea. The golden divine power sea was in full swing, destroying the black water dragon's aura of coldness upon contact. Emperor Bai was situated at the core of the golden divine power sea. With a clench of his right fist, boundless golden divine power was concentrated in his hand. Hong! A brutal punch was let out. The black water dragon did not know how terrifying Emperor Bai was. At that moment, it opened its mouth and revealed its sharp fangs. It had intended to bite and crush Emperor Bai to death. Pung! A loud bang, then a crackling sound, as if something sharp had burst. Emperor Bai's fist full of divine power had struck one of the black water dragon's fangs. That terrifying power immediately broke its fang, leading to a painful howl on the black water dragon's side, blood gushing out of its wound. The black water dragon's body was also blasted far away. After it had recomposed itself, its eerie eyes exposed a trace of fear. It was apparent that it had truly learnt how horrifying the human cultivator in front of it was. Xiao! Without hesitation, the black water dragon turned into a dark flowing light and frantically attempted to escape. Escape? Not on my watch. How could it be that easy? Emperor Bai said coldly. At that moment, divine power rushed out of Emperor Bai's body, expanding the already vast golden divine power sea, encompassing the black water dragon as well. From the sea, golden hands rushed out and grabbed the black water dragon from all sides. Some of it caught the black water dragon's tail, some caught its body, some caught its 4 claws. The golden hands pounced on the black water dragon, giving it no chance to escape. Ho! Ho! The black water dragon let out a frenzied howl, filled with anger, but also with fear. Evidently, the black water dragon sensed a life-and-death crisis, and frantically roared for help. Sure enough, after it roared, at a plain not far from the Divine Blade City, the eerie man in black armor, who had been sitting down, opened his eyes suddenly. Crap! The eerie man immediately got up and rushed for the Divine Blade City in front of him. Previously, the eerie man had walked the plain at a pathetic speed, but now he was zooming. In the Divine Blade City, Emperor Bai's murderous intent was strong. Under the boundless golden divine power sea, the black water dragon had nowhere to escape. Emperor Bai struck it again and again, forcing the black water dragon to use its own body to block the attacks. Though the dragon's body was tough, it was not at its peak. Emperor Bai's attacks were strong and merciless, leaving the black water dragon severely damaged and scarred. Chapter 2237 Punisher God. Beast die. Emperor Bai did not show any mercy, and struck the black water dragon again and again. The black water dragon was wailing in pain. It was obvious that it had reached its limit. At that moment, stop! A roar echoed across the heavens. An eerie black streak of light carrying strong destructive power came bursting out, instantly breaking the golden arms holding the black water dragon down. Without the golden hands holding it back, the black water dragon roared excitedly and made its way to the source of that previous roar. Over there, the eerie man in black armor had a somber face, as a devious aura rose from him. The intensity of that aura was enough to make any ordinary cultivator shiver in fear. You finally showed up? Emperor Bai was not surprised by the entrance of another person. He knew from Jian Wushuang that there was an ancient era expert behind the black water dragon. Without a doubt, he was the one. Hiss hiss. The black water dragon revealed an aggrieved look in front of the eerie man. The eerie man looked at the black water dragon and saw the scars and broken fang. He was devastated. How dare you beat up Scaly like this? You must have a death wish. The eerie man glared at Emperor Bai with murderous intent. Ridiculous. Emperor Bai on the other hand sneered. The golden divine power sea rose once again, now heading straight for the eerie man. Behind Emperor Bai, a large and magnificent golden shadow appeared out of thin air. The golden shadow was 99,000 feet high, and a majestic aura surrounded it. Emperor Bai made his move. Die! The eerie man made his move as well, stepping out and instantly forming a large and ominous vortex. The ominous vortex spread out for miles, swallowing everything around it. Everything that the golden divine power sea touched in the ominous vortex devoured. In a blink of an eye, the eerie man and Emperor collided in the middle of Divine Blade City. Both of them did not use any divine weapons, only their fists. Both of their fists, each containing earth-shattering destructive powers, collided. Pung! The earth split apart. Boundless divine power was destroying everything around it. The waves of that terrifying shock rolled over every corner of the city. As the ripples swept over, the void started to collapse. Beneath their feet, the enormous Divine Blade City, countless palaces and taverns were crushed into rubble, then into powder. One collision was all it took to make the entire city disappear. At the center of the terrifying power, the eerie man with murderous intent lifted his head and looked at Emperor Bai in surprise. It was no wonder he was surprised. The opponent's fist was amazingly strong, evidently stronger than him. Hung! The heavens roared. The eerie man was blasted backwards. He retreated from the center of Divine Blade City, all the way to the OU thinksarts of it. After he had recomposed himself, he could not help but look at his right hand. His hand was now numb, tingling pain coming from the inside of his bones. So powerful, close to a chaotic divine demon. The eerie man's gaze turned solemn. He fell quiet for a while before asking, "If I'm not wrong, you are that Emperor Bai, right?" To him, at that era, under the huge restrictions placed on the earth, only Emperor Bai could demonstrate such power. Yes, Emperor Bai admitted it directly. As Emperor Bai admitted to his identity, the eerie man's face turned sour. He was an ancient era expert, and had been a powerful one back during the ancient era. But under the heavy restrictions placed on this earth, he could not demonstrate much at all, to the extent where he had some reservations against going against the chaotic realm Emperor Bai. The collision proved that Emperor Bai was invincible in the current era. Even he had to concede. After thinking of that, he sighed and said coldly, "I concede for today." Scaly, let's go. The eerie man had no intention of continuing his fight with Emperor Bai. He was angered by what Emperor Bai had done to his black water dragon. But he had no choice but to escape. However, Emperor Bai would never let him get what he wanted. "You want to go? How could it be that easy?" Emperor Bai said coldly. Immediately, the golden divine power sea rushed madly for the eerie man once again. That completely enraged the eerie man. "Emperor Bai, I no longer wish to get back at you for hurting my mount. You really think I'm afraid of you?" The eerie man was furious. If he could demonstrate his full fighting power like back in the ancient era, he would not even take Emperor Bai seriously. Even true chaotic divine demons were nothing in his eyes. He had already made concessions against ants like him. But he was not willing to let him off? Emperor Bai could not be bothered to talk. The golden divine power sea immediately rushed back towards him, covering himself completely in golden divine power. His body soared sky-high, soaring to about 100 feet tall. A thick golden light shimmered on his enormous body. The golden shimmer looked like powerful golden armor. Emperor Bai's already aggressive aura grew even stronger. The 9-star armor, the eerie man frowned. Things did not end with the golden armor. A boundless aura rolled from the golden shadow behind Emperor Bai, turning into Golden Emperor. The Golden Emperor overlooked everything coldly. "This is?" The eerie man's face changed suddenly, and had his eyes dead set on the enormous Golden Emperor. He knew what secret skill Emperor Bai was using. The Punisher God. Chapter 2238 Slaying the Dragon. The eerie man was a big shot in the ancient era. So he had seen things, and naturally he recognized the two secret skills Emperor Bai had demonstrated. The golden armor Emperor Bai was wearing was the 7-star Black Sect's 9-star armor, and had been cultivated to the golden armor scripture. It was an impressive secret skill, but within the eerie man's comprehension, it was possible to cultivate the 9-star armor to golden armor scripture if large amounts of resources were used in the current era. But when he saw the enormous Golden Emperor overseeing everything, the eerie man was stunned. The Punisher God. He recognized the secret skill Punisher God instantly. It was a formidable secret skill, although not as high in level as the 9-star armor, but its fame well exceeded the armor back in the ancient era. It was famed not for its abilities, but its harsh cultivating requirements. Even back in the absolute beginning divine world, In the ancient era, there had been few people that were qualified to even learn the secret skill. By rights, no one should even have been able to learn it in the current era. Not even Emperor Bai. Damn it, Emperor Bai's already very strong, and he has the 9-star armor and Punisher God with him? No wonder people call him invincible. The eerie man's face was very sour. Even for him, he had to admit, he was no match for Emperor Bai under the restrictions placed on the earth. And Emperor Bai had no mercy. The enormous golden emperor looked down, while Emperor Bai in golden armor looked extremely menacing. Punisher's hell. Rumble. The enormous golden emperor suddenly moved, and at that moment it was as if the sky was about to collapse. Endless golden divine power C from all corners concentrated in the giant emperor's palm, and was pushed out. Instantly, the golden divine power C set off a huge golden wave, going in for the eerie man and black water dragon from all 4 directions. Terrifying destructive power, enough to make a 3rd stage great emperor shiver in fear, was erupting from the golden wave. The eerie man's face darkened, an eerie aura instantly surged from him, releasing a thick nether light. The black water dragon appeared beneath its feet, coldness blown from its mouth, freezing everything in sight with the eerie man's nether light. The void froze up and formed indestructible ice, blocking the giant golden wave from sweeping them away. As the golden wave swept over, the ice started collapsing. The eerie man and black water dragon were obviously struggling under the impact of the golden wave. Emperor Bai's pupil shrank slightly at the sight of that. This man must have been an elite expert during the ancient era, at least above a chaotic divine demon, maybe even stronger than Blood Emperor. Even though he's restricted by the heavens and earth, his fighting power is still much stronger than Kaiser Blood's. In terms of fighting power, he must be at a half-step divine demon by now, Emperor Bai murmured. The same restrictions placed on everyone caused ancient era experts to only demonstrate the same level of power, but the same power would turn into different levels of fighting power in different hands. Like Jian Er and his 2 brothers, because they were only chaotic divine demons at their peak, so they were only able to demonstrate 3rd stage great emperor fighting powers after the restrictions. But the eerie man in front of him was beyond chaotic divine demon in his prime, and therefore he could still demonstrate half-step divine demon fighting powers. Of course, the scariest person was still Emperor 13. He used his own power to shake and move the restrictions, making him a half-step divine demon, then used that power to fight actual chaotic divine demons. I may have the complete Punisher God secret skill that increases my power immensely, but I don't think it's possible to take him down today. But I must at least kill the snake. Emperor Bai was determined. The eerie man and his black water dragon were still struggling beneath the golden wave. At that moment, the golden emperor behind Emperor Bai released a shiny golden light once again. With the thought of Emperor Bai's mind, the golden emperor's hands moved at the same time. At that moment, the 2 golden hands stretched and enlarged indefinitely, one hand blocking the sun, the other enveloping half of the world. 2 hands surrounded the void. Those 2 hands gradually closed in on the eerie man and his dragon. Punish, destroy. Emperor Bai let out a loud roar. The terrifying powers from the golden emperor's palms were released and spread all over the land. As they were closing, the entire void got locked down. Within the void, crap, the eerie man's expression changed. He could feel the time-space around him being locked down. He could not escape. Not just him, but his dragon as well. The 2 golden hands gradually closed in. They seemed slow, but the terrifying powers they had caused the eerie man to tremble in fear. Hong! The golden emperor's palms finally closed in. The center void naturally was crushed into bits by the palms. Emperor Bai stood there emotionlessly, as he watched another light burst out from the void. A hole was made, piercing through one of the golden hands as a figure came out of it. It was obviously the eerie man. As he reappeared above the void, his body was trembling hard. Emperor Bai's hit had been terrifying, but he was a big shot from the ancient era after all. It had injured him, but it was not enough to kill him. But his black water dragon exploded on impact with the palms, and turned into a bloody mist instantly. Chapter 2239. Left in hatred Scaly. My Scaly. The eerie man was trembling, his face all twisted. Dead. His dragon had been accompanying him since the ancient era. It had fought alongside him and survived the ancient era battles. He was like a brother to him. It did not die in the insane ancient era battles, but had died in Emperor Bai's hands. The eerie man had completely lost it. Emperor Bai. Emperor Bai. The eerie man glared at Emperor Bai with his bloodshot eyes. The hatred in his eyes was earth-shocking. I'll remember today. Not for long. I'll make sure you'll pay for this 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. You just wait. His wailing roar resonated across the land, and the frenzy within the roar did not seem to fade away. After saying that, the eerie man escaped. As he watched the eerie man leave, Emperor Bai frowned, but had no intention of chasing him. Not because he did not want to, but because the enemy had already used a secret skill to escape. He was too fast for Emperor Bai to catch and kill. Xiao. A figure appeared beside Emperor Bai. It was Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took quite some time rushing over from his own domain. By the time he reached it, he only managed to catch a glimpse of that eerie man escaping with hatred in his heart. Jian Wushuang took a glance at that eerie man, then looked over towards Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang's gaze shifted. He noticed the 9,900,000 feet tall Golden Emperor behind Emperor Bai. The Golden Emperor's aura was one even he dared not underestimate. Emperor Bai, this is a secret skill? Jian Wushuang was confused. It is. Emperor Bai nodded. As he retracted his aura, the Golden Emperor gradually faded into nothing as well. It's called the Punisher God. I learned it in the first era. Unfortunately, I did not receive the entire secret skill, and could not perform its full power, until Emperor 13 passed it to me. Impressive. Jian Wushuang was impressed. Emperor Bai was already very impressive with his inverse cultivation's 7th-step divine powers, along with his rules of order, making him the strongest amongst great emperors. With the 9-star armor and Punisher God, he was almost divine demon powers. Why envious? Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang interestingly. A bit, Jian Wushuang nodded. Regardless of the 9-star armor or Punisher God, they were all ancient era secret skills and Emperor Bai had them both. Of course Jian Wushuang was envious. You envy me? I envy you. Emperor Bai laughed. Your inverse cultivation gives you a great advantage over others, along with your perfect ancient god clan bloodline. Your secret skill of body refinery is very terrifying as well. In terms of divine power, holy body, you are stronger than me, with many tricks up my sleeve, maybe even stronger than my 2 secret skills. Indeed, Emperor Bai had his advantages. Jian Wushuang had his as well. The mountain river map and soul-swallowing pearl alone were enough to make Emperor Bai envious. I put in a lot of effort into these 2 secret skills. The 9-star armor is easier to learn with enough time, and especially resources. After the eternal chaotic world stabilizes, I'll pass it to you. For the Punisher God, the cultivating requirements are too harsh. I managed to learn it due to pure luck. Even though you're more gifted, you won't be able to learn it in the current eternal chaotic world, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders. He knew they were tough to learn, but he had no intention of learning it from the very beginning. Emperor Bai was overthinking, but at that moment, Xiao, 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 Xiao. 5 figures appeared at the same time. They were Jian Air, Jian Yi, Red Dragon King, Abysmal Saint Master, and Underworld God who had rushed from the other domain. They saw the rubble of what was the Divine Blade City, and felt some remnants of power in the nearby void. They were stunned. Lord Emperor Bai, Sword Emperor, how was it? Where's the Black Water Dragon? The Red Dragon King asked. The Black Water Dragon died by my hand, but I only managed to injure the ancient era expert behind it. He took a great sense of hatred when he left. He will try to have his revenge soon enough, Emperor Bai said. Red Dragon King, Abysmal Saint Master, and the others were elated when they heard the Blackwater Dragon was dead. As for revenge, haha, revenge? Getting revenge against Emperor Bai in this era? Ridiculous. Red Dragon King sniggered. He was absolutely confident in Emperor Bai's abilities. Indeed, revenge against Emperor Bai is a death wish, Abysmal Saint Master said. am not afraid of revenge. Even though these ancient era experts were good, as long as they are not as powerful as Emperor 13 or Blood Emperor, or make up some other kind of opposing blood formation, no one can stop me. I'm afraid he'll take his revenge on the eternal chaotic world and Sanctuary Alliance instead. Emperor Bai frowned. He is an ancient era expert after all. No one can stop him except Emperor Bai and me. If he is determined to get his revenge, it will get messy, Jian Wushuang said. The Sanctuary Alliance just needs to be more careful. We'll deal with it when it comes. In this era, we are the rulers, and they are nothing more than old geezers. The era belongs to us, not them. You're right, the era is ours, not the ancient era experts. Emperor Bai, Red Dragon King, and the others nodded in agreement. Chapter 2240 Revenge. After settling the Black Dragon, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai left. As for the cold man, he escaped. There was a possibility that he would take revenge. However, it is not possible for Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai to be on guard all the time. They gave the command to Sanctuary Alliance to track his location. If he was found, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai would go and take care of him. Within a secluded mountain dwelling, in the Red Dragon Sanctuary, the cold man in black armor stood there, his face twisted with anger. He was like an enraged beast. Emperor Bai, you wait. I will not make life easy for you. His voice reverberated in the mountain dwelling. A month later, a figure approached the mountain dwelling. It was an elder with white hair. He had blurry vision, and he looked like he had been through many ups and downs in life. Is this the place? He looked at the mountain in front of him. He had found the presence of the mountain dwelling after he had used his soul power to scan the area. He then started to walk towards the mountain dwelling. Within minutes, he was in the interior of the mountain dwelling and saw the cold man. The man looked up with a twisted face filled with savagery. The white-haired elder took a cold breath and greeted, "Greetings, Lord Jian. I am Chuhi." The elder was wondering what had happened and why Lord Jiao was so angry and crazy. Chuhi originated from the ancient past and was one of the subordinates of the cold man. During the ancient past, he had followed the cold man for many years. It was rare to see the cold man so angry and crazy. It felt like the cold man was about to go to extremes to achieve something. Chuhi, how long were you awake? The cold man, old monster Jiao, looked at Chuhi and asked casually. About 2,000 years, Chuhi answered respectfully. Many of those who were in slumber around you awakened too, right? Old monster Jiao asked randomly. Yes, some of them have already awakened. Chuhi nodded his head and replied. That's good. Old monster Jiao nodded his head. Does my lord have any commands? Chuhi asked, curious. Scaly died. Old monster Jiao said suddenly. What? Lord Scaly died? Who? Who had the courage to kill Lord Scaly? Chuhi turned pale and questioned. Scaly was the rider of the man in front of him. The man in front of him treated Scaly like he was a true brother. How could his lord not be angered and go crazy if Scaly died? Emperor Bai from this era killed Scaly. I will not allow him to continue living. However, the restrictions of heaven and earth are too great, and I cannot handle him alone. I need some helpers, and I want you to find some for me. Old monster Jiao said directly. So that is the case. Lord, the number of experts that have awakened, and I can contact is limited. Furthermore, some of these experts are not your subordinates. If you want them to follow your orders might be. Chuhi took a deep breath and said solemnly. I understand. Tell them, I will give those who help me one divine demon nirvana elixir, after we return to the absolute beginning divine world. Old monster Jiao said. Divine demon nirvana elixir? Chuhi was shocked. Divine demon nirvana elixir had been an extremely high-level elixir back in the ancient past. This type of elixir was extremely useful for any experts in the divine demon realm, as it could make them much more powerful. However, back in the ancient past, or the absolute beginning divine world, this elixir was extremely rare, and most experts in the divine demon realm would not have been able to get it. Now old monster Jiao was giving one of this elixir to those who were willing to help him deal with an expert in the chaotic realm. This, after taking a deep breath, Chuhi said, Don't worry, Lord. I will go and contact those experts in the divine demon realm now. With your reward, I can guarantee at least 10 experts from divine demon realm who will come and help you. Only about 10. Old Monster Jiao frowned displeased. Lord, as you know, those who were in that battle and did not manage to escape this place were mostly injured or even killed. Their blood essence was forcefully absorbed by that formation. Many of them died during their long slumbers, or will never be able to wake up anymore. Even if there is an opportunity to leave this place now, there are not many who have managed to awaken from their slumber. Within a short period of time, I can only contact these many, Chuhi said. He was speaking the truth. Not many of the experts from the ancient past who were in slumber awakened. This was why the eternal chaotic world was so peaceful. If all the experts who were in slumber could awaken when they wanted to, there would be chaos within the eternal chaotic world. Understood. Old Monster Jiao nodded his head. Oh yes, my lord. While I was talking to one of the experts in the divine demon realm, I got news that Lord Chunqi also awakened. Chuhi said suddenly. Chunqi? That brat. Old Monster Jiao raised his eyebrows. Chunqi was an expert who had surpassed the divine demon realm. Chunqi was nothing compared to Old Monster Jiao in his prime. However, given the effect of the restrictions of heaven and earth, an expert above the divine demon realm would have similar fighting power to him. Find a way to contact Chunqi and ask him to help me, Old Monster Jiao commanded. I should be able to find him. I will try my best. However, you pissed Lord Chunqi off before, hence. Chuhi looked at Old Monster Jiao carefully and said. Old Monster Jiao did not get angry. Back in the ancient past, Old Monster Jiao indeed looked down on and pissed Chunqi off before. This was because Chunqi was nothing compared to him back then. Now it was different. Tell him that I will owe him a favor if he agrees to help. If he agrees, I will return him the favor after we return to absolute beginning divine world. However, if he refuses, I will use all the power I have to kill him after we return to absolute beginning divine world, as he will have angered me. Old Monster Jiao said coldly. Chapter 2241 Gathering the Assistants. Chuhi quickly contacted the experts from the ancient past. One would expect Old Monster to be able to contact even more powerful experts given how powerful he was. In reality, many of the experts with similar fighting power to Old Monster Jiao escaped out of this heaven and earth when they realized something was amiss. Only a small number of people were stuck there and fell into slumber, as they hadn't escaped in time. The number of experts at his level was already small, much less the number of experts at his level and awakened. This resulted in Old Monster Jiao finding it difficult to find experts to help him in his cause. Hence, he could only command his subordinate, Chuhi, to contact the experts in the divine demon realm. Eternal Chaotic World, Purple Moon Sanctuary. There was an auction going on within a large town. This auction was of a very high level, and hence it attracted numerous experts, including several almighties who came down personally. A man and a teenage girl were sat within one of the independent rooms. The lazy man wore a long robe and looked down every now and then at the items that were being auctioned with interest. As for the dirty teenage girl in green clothes, she was eating some fruits and did not bother looking down at the auction at all. Senior brother, the restrictions of heaven and earth are so strong, and the spiritual influence of heaven and earth is so thin. This auction is also not of the highest standard. There shouldn't be anything good here. I have no idea why you decided to come here, the teenage girl in green clothes complained. Haha, junior sister. You do not understand. There might not be anything good in this era. However, the people of this place protect the ancient battlefield. On that battlefield, countless experts died. There are almost unlimited amounts of treasures and opportunities there. Many of those treasures were found and have circulated around in this world. If we look carefully, we might find some precious treasures which we, as experts in the divine demon realm, would normally have no way of attaining, the lazy man said. Even so, have you found any of the precious treasures you have been talking about? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes retorted. For now, no. Looks like you are right. These auctions are of too low a level. The truly precious treasures, should be in the hands of the top-tier experts of this era. For example, Sanctuary Alliance. The lazy man said, Sanctuary Alliance? Senior brother, you are going to try something funny against the Sanctuary Alliance? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes looked over and asked. The lazy man laughed awkwardly. Both of them had been awake for a period of time. They had a certain amount of understanding of this era. They know that Sanctuary Alliance had two very powerful experts, Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai. With the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth, the pair did not dare to try anything funny with them. Right then. Huh. The lazy man was stunned before he stood up suddenly. What happened, senior brother? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes asked curiously. Haha. Junior sister. Remember when I said I wouldn't dare to fight the Sanctuary Alliance? That would indeed be true, if it was just the two of us. However, things have changed. The lazy man roared with laughter. What do you mean? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes wondered aloud. One of my good friends just transmitted me a message. Lord Jiao's ride was killed by Emperor Bai from Sanctuary Alliance. Lord Jiao is very angry, and is trying to gather experts in the divine demon realm, to take revenge on Emperor Bai, the lazy man said. Lord Jiao? You mean the Lord Jiao from the Holy Land? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes was stunned. That is him. He is rewarding those who help him with the divine demon nirvana elixir, after they return to the absolute beginning divine world. The lazy man's eyes lit up in excitement. Divine demon nirvana elixir? The dirty girl in green clothes was overjoyed. The divine demon nirvana elixir was something experts in the divine demon realm would go crazy for. Junior sister, let's go. We should hurry. We cannot miss such a good opportunity, the lazy man said. Okari. The dirty teenage girl in green clothes nodded her head. The two of them headed for where Lord Jiao was at the fastest speed possible. A purple figure stood in the air above a vast ocean within the colored glazed sanctuary. He wore a noble purple long-sleeved shirt. His hair and his irises were purple as well. He was walking within the area casually. Suddenly, he stopped as he was surprised. Old Monster Jiao asked me to help him? If I don't, he will use whatever power he has back in the absolute beginning divine world to try and kill me after we return? Humph. Based on the fact he was stronger than me back then, and he came from a holy land, he looked down on me. Now he is asking me to help him by threatening me? The purple figure knitted his eyebrows and said. This purple figure was Chen Qi. Someone was above the divine demon realm. Chen Qi was disgusted by Old Monster Jiao. However, he feared Old Monster Jiao as he had an incredible background. Even though he threatened me, he knows his limits. He promised me a favor, and his favor. Chen Qi started contemplating. It was not because Old Monster Jiao was more powerful than him. More importantly, it was because of his background in the Holy Land. It would have been difficult to get a favor from someone like him in the absolute beginning divine world. Now, never mind. I will first check it out. If his attitude is better, I do not mind helping him. However, if he is still so cocky, I will not bother with him. Does he really think it is so easy to kill me back in the absolute beginning divine world? Chen Qi grunted as he left for where Old Monster Jiao was. It was not just Chen Qi and the two siblings who were at the auction. Many experts from the ancient past who had awakened received invitations from Old Monster Jiao. They had to help him do something in exchange for one divine demon nirvana elixir. Many of them were in awe at the price Old Monster Jiao was willing to pay. Many of them replied, and headed to where Old Monster Jiao was. Within 3 years, more than 20 experts from the ancient past gathered at the mountain dwelling, where Old Monster Jiao resided. Within the dwelling, there were more than 20 experts in the realm of divine demons. Some of them knew each other, while others didn't. Even so, they were chatting casually. Even though there were differences between their fighting power, they were in the same realm. Furthermore, they were all trapped within this heaven and earth, and were under its restrictions. Hence, they did not put up a front when interacting with each other. Chapter 2242 Body of Undying. Haha, there are so many people. Looks like the divine demon nirvana elixir is very attractive as a reward. That is true. It is Lord Jiao. Those who come from the Holy Land do things differently to others. The 20 or so experts in the divine demon realm talked casually. When they reached their destination, they already knew what they needed to do. Right then, a man with purple hair and purple clothes appeared within the mountain dwelling. When this man appeared, he attracted the attention of all the experts in the divine demon realm. Even though they were under the restrictions of heaven and earth, the experts in the divine demon realm could tell that the purple-haired man had an aura that surpassed that of the divine demon. Chun-Chi, it is Lord Chun-Chi. Lord Chun-Chi is here. Some of the experts in the divine demon realm recognized Chun-Chi and greeted him respectfully. Chun-Chi scanned the experts in the divine demon realm coldly, not saying a word. Within moments, old monster Jiao appeared in front of everyone wearing black armor. Lord Jiao. Greetings, Lord Jiao. The experts in the divine demon realm greeted him respectfully. Chun-Chi greeted, as well as he did not dare to be arrogant. He just did it less respectfully. Are all those that you invited here? Old monster Jiao scanned around the room and asked. Yes, my lord. Those who agreed to help are all here. There are a total of 23 experts in the divine demon realm, and the addition of Lord Chun-Chi. Old monster Jiao nodded his head slightly. 23 experts in the divine demon realm. Some of them were stronger than the rest. Those who were more powerful had the fighting power of a peak stage 3 great emperor, while those weaker only had the fighting power of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. Even though it was only at the level of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor, it was still at the level of a stage 3 great emperor. Within the eternal chaotic world, there were only 2 stage 3 great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. Now they had 23 experts with the fighting power, at least that of a stage 3 great emperor. It made 24 including Chu He. On top of this, old monster Jiao and Chun-Chi had both been more powerful than any divine demon during their primes. Under the restrictions of heaven and earth, they had the fighting power of an expert in the half-step divine demon realm. This lineup was considered terrifying. Chun-Chi, thank you for coming. I will remember this favor. Old monster Jiao looked at Chun-Chi and said. Chun-Chi nodded his head slightly, not speaking. As for the rest of you, since I have already promised all of you, I will live up to my promise and give all of you 1 divine demon nirvana elixir after we return to the absolute beginning divine world. The experts were overjoyed. They knew of old monster Jiao's background and believed that he would live up to his promise. Alright, let's talk about the mission. Everyone here should know that my target this time is Emperor Bai. He killed my ride. He must die. Old monster Jiao said extremely coldly. The experts present raised their eyebrows. Sir Jiao, Chun-Chi said suddenly. The experts in the divine demon realm would refer to old monster Jiao as Lord. Only Chun-Chi would call him Sir, as there were of the same realm. I was informed about what you wanted us to do when I arrived here. I think it is not possible to kill Emperor Bai as a way to take revenge for your ride, Chun-Chi said. Huh? Chun-Chi, what do you mean by that? Old monster Jiao's face turned dark as he questioned Chun-Chi fiercely. Sir Jiao, I am not trying to anger you. However, what I said is the truth. Chun-Chi looked directly at old monster Jiao, not backing down from the fierce stare. He continued. Sir Jiao has been awake for a short period of time and has explored this world for some time. How good is your understanding of the top-tier experts in this era? I have limited understanding of them, old monster Jiao said. He was speaking the truth. Ever since he had left the Buddhist demon sea, he had started to explore the eternal chaotic world and had some understanding of the top-tier experts in this era. He knew of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. He also knew that they had incredible fighting power. However, he had not looked into what realm they were in or how strong they really were. This was why he looked down on Emperor Bai and had suffered losses. Sir Jiao, you do not know how strong they are, but I do. I did thorough research on every single top-tier expert, Chun-Chi said slowly. Let's talk about Emperor Bai first. He is extremely powerful and is unanimously considered the most powerful man in this era and is unbeatable in this world. I am sure you will agree with this since you have fought him before. Old monster Jiao face darkened. After fighting Emperor Bai, he had a certain understanding of how powerful he was. Just like Chun-Chi said, Old Monster Jiao knew that he was no match for Emperor Bai. I cannot beat him one-on-one. This is exactly why I am willing to pay such a heavy price to ask all of you to help me. If we work together, we can kill him, Old Monster Jiao said. There is one more point that Sir Jiao should know. Emperor Bai is not only powerful, he is also an inverse cultivator. Inverse cultivation is a unique way of cultivating, and is vastly different from the normal way of cultivation. Chen Qi shook his head and said, Emperor Bai is so powerful because of inverse cultivation. His power is not limited by the restrictions of heaven and earth. Furthermore, inverse cultivators have unique abilities. One of them is the body of undying. What? Old Monster Jiao's face turned dark. All the experts in the divine demon realm looked over at Chen Qi in surprise. Body of undying? You mean that body of undying that only undying saint has? Old Monster Jiao stared at Chen Qi and asked. That is right. There might be differences in the body of undying between an undying saint and an inverse cultivator, but it would not be a big difference. From what I know, Emperor Bai was once under the effect of opposing blood formation and was killed by the Blood Emperor, who could use the power belonging to the divine demon realm. After Emperor Bai's divine body was destroyed and annihilated, he regenerated his divine body within moments. Chen Qi nodded his head solemnly and said, He regenerated his divine body, even after you completely destroyed it. Is this the body of undying? After hearing what Chen Qi had said, Old Monster Jiao fell silent. Chapter 2243 Fear. This indeed was the body of undying. To be able to regenerate a destroyed body almost immediately with no effects on his fighting power. Body of undying. As an expert from the ancient past, Old Monster Jiao clearly knew how terrifying the body of undying was. This was why the undying saints could do whatever they wanted within the absolute beginning divine world. Old Monster Jiao had not expected Emperor Bai, as someone in the chaotic realm, to possess the body of undying. How is this possible? Old Monster Jiao cried out. Sir Jiao, I understand that it is difficult to believe what I just said. However, this is a fact. I have the project image with me. Chen Qi said as he whipped out a project image token. During the battle between Emperor Bai and Blood Emperor, all of the Almighties from the eternal chaotic world had been there watching the fight. They had used a project image token to record the battle. After the war, these project images had started to become widespread within the eternal chaotic world. Chen Qi had obtained one easily, as the project image appeared in front of everyone. The experts in the divine demon realm and Old Monster Jiao saw how Emperor Bai's divine body was first destroyed, then regenerated almost instantly with their own eyes. Indeed, that is body of undying. Old Monster Jiao clenched his fist and said. His face was dark. Body of undying. An expert in the chaotic realm possessed the body of undying? I am sure that everyone here knows how scary the body of undying can be. On top of this, Emperor Bai has incredible fighting power. Given how we can only have fighting power limited to the chaotic realm, he is basically invincible. Chen Qi continued solemnly. This means that it is impossible to kill him even if we work with each other. We can only defeat him. Hearing this, Old Monster Jiao trembled. He had to admit Chen Qi was speaking the truth. With that level of fighting power, and with the body of undying, it was true that killing him was a dream. Humph. Even if I can't kill him, I want him to pay 10 times, or even 100 times the price. I will destroy Sanctuary Alliance and kill everyone around him. Old Monster Jiao roared with anger. That is feasible. Other than Emperor Bai, the other people within Sanctuary Alliance, and the people of this era were generally weak, and we do not need to be afraid. However, there are still things we need to look out for, Chen Qi said. First, we need to watch out for the Sword Emperor. From the intel I have, the Sword Emperor only has the fighting power of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. Any one of the experts in the divine demon realm here can stop him and defeat him. However, he has incredible techniques and trump cards. The reason why the Blood Emperor lost 20,000 over years ago was because the Sword Emperor cast an incredible secret skill, which boosted his fighting power. He also had a treasure, which he used to kill the Blood Emperor. I think that the Sword Emperor can only use these techniques at a great cost. I wonder if he can still use them. We just need to be more cautious. Once he casts the secret skill, it is in our best interests to temporarily retreat to avoid him at his strongest. We can attack again at a later time, Qinshi said. Hearing this, the surrounding people nodded their heads. Everyone had to take the Sword Emperor seriously, as he could kill the Blood Emperor, who could use the power of the divine demon realm once he used his secret skill. They should avoid the Sword Emperor when he cast the secret skill. On top of this, we should be extra cautious of one more man, Qinshi continued. Extra cautious? Who? Old Monster Jiao looked over and asked. Emperor 13. When Qinshi said this name, it was evident that his voice was different. Old Monster Jiao's irises contracted. As for the experts in the divine demon realm, they were all stunned and confused. Lord Qinshi, who is Emperor 13, is he a greater threat than Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor? One of the experts in the divine demon realm asked. These experts in the divine demon realms would have been mere pawns back in the ancient battlefield. They had no idea of what happened at the higher levels. They didn't know the really powerful people like Emperor 13. Of course, compared to Emperor 13, Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor are nothing. After all, these two are cultivators of this era. We only need to take them seriously because of the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth. However, Emperor 13 is different. He is like us. He came from the absolute beginning divine world. Qinshi said. So what? That expert in the divine demon realm was still confused. All of them came from the absolute beginning divine world. Why should they be extra cautious? Haha. Qinshi had a weird laugh and looked at that expert mockingly. Qinshi, is that Emperor 13 from 7-Star Black Sect, the leader of 7 stars, and the one who challenged and injured the Master of Holy Land in a one-on-one fight? Old Monster Jiao looked over at Qinshi and asked. Yes, that is him. Qinshi nodded his head. Old Monster Jiao's heart skipped a beat. The other experts in the divine demon realm took a cold breath. Challenge the Master of Holy Land in a one-on-one fight? And injure him in the fight? Oh my god! Emperor 13 is such a terrifying being? 7-Star Black Sect? There are people from the 7-Star Black Sect who survived? And his power level is similar to that of the Master of Holy Land? These experts in the divine demon realm were trembling in fear. Experts in the divine demon realm were superpowers in this era. However, they were nothing back in the ancient past. Back in the ancient past, these people were mere pawns in the battlefield of the highest level. However, Master of Holy Land, he had been one of the strongest men back in the absolute beginning divine world. To these experts, an undying saint was already considered a superpower that they would kneel down to. Master of the Holy Land? That man was even more powerful. After they discovered Emperor 13's true power and identity, these experts fell silent. Those who had thought Emperor 13 was nothing previously were now fearful. Who dared to look down on someone who was comparable to the Master of Holy Land? That person would be a joke. Emperor 13 awakened a very long time ago, much earlier than me. He was one of the main reasons why the Blood Emperor lost back in the Great Battle 20,000 years ago. From my sources, Emperor 13 is not part of the Sanctuary Alliance. The reason why he helped out back then was because of the Sword Emperor. This means that Emperor 13 should not appear if we do not threaten the life of the Sword Emperor, Qinshi said. Chapter 2244. Direct attack. After going back and forth for some time, Old Monster Jiao finally made his decision. The main focus of this mission is just Sanctuary Alliance. We will kill the experts within Sanctuary Alliance, other than the Sword Emperor. As for Emperor Bai, if we can kill him, we will. If not, let him have a taste of how it feels to lose a loved one or a good friend. Old Monster Jiao said coldly. Yes. The experts in the divine demon realm, who were present, nodded their heads. Let's go. We will head straight for Sanctuary Alliance's headquarters. Old Monster Jiao and Qinshi led 20 over experts in the divine demon realm towards the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance. Thunderbolt Island. The place with the best cultivating environment within the eternal chaotic world was the Green Fire World. and Thunderbolt Island was now ranked lower than Greenfire World. However, Greenfire World was located at a remote part of the Eternal Chaotic World and was self-managed. The headquarters of the Greenfire World was still located at Thunderbolt Island. There was still a large number of experts cultivating on Thunderbolt Island all year round. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chun were together within the Presbytery Pavilion. Emperor Bai, this is the projected image that was sent from the East Royal Sanctuary, Ancestor Tian Chun said as a large projected image appeared at the space in front of them. Within the projected image, an emperor god with an incredible aura stood in front of a teenage boy in a golden cloak. The teenage boy in the golden cloak looked very friendly and calm. One could not sense his aura. Soon the emperor god attacked. All the moves he used were used with the intention of killing the opponent. However, the teenage boy in the golden cloak simply pointed his fingers, and the attack by the emperor god was neutralized. The emperor god was also turned to dust with a look of desperation. Then the projected image disappeared. A casual point could kill an emperor god. No ordinary great emperor can do this. His aura was also very unique, hence he shouldn't be an expert from the first era. If I am not wrong, he is another expert from the ancient past who has awakened recently, Emperor Bai said. Emperor Bai was extremely sharp in his observation. He could tell the teenage boy in the golden cloak was special with one look. Another one? Ancestor Tian Chun sighed. Up till today, Sanctuary Alliance had already found 3 of such experts from the ancient past. The first was the man from Colored Glaze Sanctuary. Then, it was the Black Dragon which was from Red Dragon Sanctuary and his master. The teenage boy in the golden cloak, that was seen within the projected image, was obviously an expert from the ancient past. On the of this, the Sword Emperor had visited the Real Martial Arts Divine Church, and met 3 experts from the ancient past. This added up to a total of 6. There should be more than these 6 experts from the ancient past, and they could be located anywhere within the Eternal Chaotic World, Ancestor Tian Chun said solemnly. That is true. However, most of these experts are very law-abiding, just like that teenage boy in the golden cloak. If I recalled correctly, Emperor God Gu San provoked him first, right? Emperor Bai said. Emperor God Gu San was the one who had been killed in the battle against the teenage boy in the golden cloak. Indeed, from my intel, the teenage boy in the golden cloak stayed within one of the clans in the East Royal Sanctuary, and has not massacred anyone before. He asked the clan to find certain treasures and resources for him, and he would in turn reward them. Ancestor Tian Chun nodded his head and said, while the clan was searching for the resources, they managed to find a stalk of blood dragon flower. The greedy Emperor God Gu San got news of this, and wanted the flower for himself. This is why that scene happened. No wonder, Emperor Bai smiled unsurprised. He knew that there were definitely more experts from the ancient past, who had awoken other than those that they already knew of. However, most of these experts were law-abiding. Of course, this was because these experts were not dumb. After they awakened, they went on to understand what the current situation was like in this heaven and earth. They got to know of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. They might not have felt threatened by Jian Wushuang, but they were definitely afraid of Emperor Bai. This was why they had been so law-abiding thus far. All they did was stay within certain clans, and ask the clan to search for some resources or treasures. The most they did was to cause a small ruckus in distant places. They dared not act up within the 10 sanctuaries. After all, the passageway would open at heaven's horizon 3,000 years later. They would leave this place and return to the absolute beginning divine world. There would be no need for them to risk anything at all. Only experts like old monster Jiao who looked down on Emperor Bai would neglect all rules and do whatever they wanted to. In the end, he had suffered great losses at the hands of Emperor Bai. If these experts were law-abiding, or knew their limits, we would not interfere with their lives. However, I will not allow them to cross the line, Emperor Bai said. Yes. Ancestor Tian Chun nodded his head and said, right then, boom! A loud explosion was heard, as the entire Thunderbolt Island shook. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chun could feel that the Presbytery Pavilion was shaking uncontrollably. What is going on? Ancestor Tian Chun and Emperor Bai turned pale as they appeared in the air above Thunderbolt Island. Soon they found the source of the tremor. Bastards! They are attacking the formation protecting Thunderbolt Island. Emperor Bai's face turned dark as he looked out of the formation. There, more than 20 experts stood together as they attacked the formation with powerful attacks. The power of the weakest attack was equivalent to an attack by a Stage 3 Great Emperor. The strongest attack was equivalent to that of a peak Stage 3 Great Emperor. Emperor Bai also saw old monster Jiao standing among the experts. It's him. Damn it. Emperor Bai turned pale. He had killed the black dragon within the red dragon sanctuary, and old monster Jiao had escaped. Old monster Jiao was filled with hatred, and he swore that he would take revenge when he left. After seeing old monster Jiao and the other experts, Emperor Bai understood that this was revenge promised by old monster Jiao. It came so quickly, and they came straight for Thunderbolt Island. The loud explosions created when the powerful attacks hit the formation could be heard continuously. Luckily, the formation on Thunderbolt Island was made by the entire Sanctuary Alliance at a great cost. These experts could not break through within a short amount of time. Quick! Inform the Great Emperors from Sanctuary Alliance to return to Thunderbolt Island immediately. Emperor Bai ordered. Chapter 2245. Leave them to me. No matter where the Great Emperors from Sanctuary Alliance were when they received the message from Emperor Bai, even those venturing within the ancient battlefield, they rushed to Thunderbolt Island with the help of wormholes. Jian Wushuang, who was within the Green Fire world, also rushed down. By the time Jian Wushuang reached Thunderbolt Island, most of the Great Emperors were already there. Sword Emperor! Sword Emperor! The Great Emperors greeted Jian Wushuang with great respect. Emperor Bai, what is happening? Jian Wushuang appeared beside Emperor Bai and asked. Look! Emperor Bai said as he pointed at the space in front of him. Jian Wushuang looked over and saw the 20 experts from the ancient past standing outside the formation. These experts stopped attacking the formation, and those who excelled in formation started studying the formation. Jian Wushuang saw old monster Jiao. It's him. He is here for revenge. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and muttered. Yes, this is his revenge. He got the courage to come and attack Thunderbolt Island directly. He probably wants to destroy the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance, or even destroy the Alliance. Emperor Bai. That's all. He probably wants to kill you to take revenge for his ride, Jian Wushuang said. Of course. Sadly, he is not powerful enough, Emperor Bai said coldly and confidently. In this world he was unbeatable. Based on power level alone, there might have been people such as Emperor 13, who could beat him in a fight. However, it was near impossible for these people to kill him, even though they were much more powerful than him. A person in the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation possessed the perfect chaotic holy body. It was completely overpowered in this world. Even if he cannot kill Emperor Bai, destroying Sanctuary Alliance and killing the most powerful experts here is more than enough to extinguish his rage, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. I guess that's what he thinks as well, Emperor Bai said. Emperor Bai, Sword Emperor. A voice was heard. It belonged to the Great Emperor Colored Glaze. I met that man recently. I suspected that he was an expert from the ancient past. He is very powerful. I lost my courage to fight him when he looked at me. The Great Emperor Colored Glaze said in fear, as he pointed at one of the experts from the ancient past. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang looked over in the direction that Great Emperor Colored Glaze was pointing, and noticed the man in purple hair and clothes who stood beside old monster Jiao. This man should have incredible fighting power, Jian Wushuang said seriously. As his fighting power became stronger, Jian Wushuang's ability to sense danger increased as well. He could sense that the two most powerful men within the group of experts from the ancient past were the man in purple hair and clothes and old monster Jiao. These people are experts from the ancient past. From the power of their attacks on the formation, every one of them has the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor, some peak Stage 3 Great Emperor. There are a few that have yet to attack. Old monster Jiao, and this man with purple hair. I have fought old monster Jiao before. His fighting power is higher than that of any Stage 3 Great Emperor, and has barely reached the level of a Stage 4 Great Emperor. The man with purple hair should not have been weaker than Old Monster Jiao, and both of them should be in half-step Divine Demon realm. This man is really incredible. He can persuade 20 experts from the ancient past to help him in such a short period of time. Jian Wushuang thought to himself, surprised. Up to date, Sanctuary Alliance encountered minimal numbers of experts from the ancient past. Yet, Old Monster Jiao had managed to contact and convince more than 20 of such experts to help him take revenge. Of course, he was incredible. This is troublesome. There are 2 men with the fighting power of a half-step Divine Demon, and 20 experts with fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. Sanctuary Alliance cannot stop them. Abysmal Saint Master said in a low voice. Cannot stop them? When the Great Emperors heard this phrase, they fell silent. Indeed, the opponent lineup was far too terrifying. These experts could not start a massacre, due to the presence of the formation, stopping them in their tracks. Once the formation broke, there was nothing else stopping them, and there was no way the Great Emperors from Sanctuary Alliance could stop them. The difference was far too great. Among the Great Emperors, only Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang and his servant Jian Yi, had the fighting power to stop these enemies. No one else had the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. How to bridge this huge gap in fighting power? Sword Emperor, can you ask Emperor 13 to help us? Ancestor Tian Shen asked. Emperor 13? Jian Wushuang was stunned before shaking his head as he continued. I have Emperor 13's transmission token, and he might help us if I asked him to. However, he is from the ancient past and not from our era. If we ask him for help whenever Sanctuary Alliance encounters danger, then who are we within this alliance? If we can't even handle these experts from the ancient past, how can we call ourselves the masters of this era? The Great Emperors nodded their heads when they heard what Jian Wushuang had said. Indeed, Emperor 13 was from the ancient past and had from this era. How could they expect Emperor 13 to always help them in times of need? I have already commanded the experts on Thunderbolt Island to leave. We are the only people left on this island. If all else fails, we can only escape and abandon Thunderbolt Island and the resources here. Emperor Bai frowned and said, We cannot back down. Jian Wushuang shook his head firmly. There are more experts from the ancient past that have awakened. Most of them are hidden around the eternal chaotic world. They fear us because there is peace within this world. If 20 experts from the ancient past are enough to force us to abandon the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance and escape, these experts will lose the fear and will dare to do things without any limits. These experts are incredibly powerful and many of them are extremely evil. If they no longer fear us, it will spell disaster for the eternal chaotic world. Hence, we cannot afford to retreat. Instead, we should defeat them quickly and swiftly. The best case is if we can kill at least half of these experts. Kill at least half of these experts. The Great Emperors from Sanctuary Alliance looked over at Jian Wushuang in shock. They felt that there was no way they could defeat the opponent, and they should retreat. However, Jian Wushuang wanted to kill at least half of the experts from the ancient past. These experts from the ancient past are not as terrifying as you think. From my perspective, we have nothing to fear. Emperor Bai, the other great emperors will not interfere in this battle. The 2 of us have no problem in defeating them. The 2 most powerful experts they have are the Master of the Black Dragon and the man with purple hair and in purple clothes. With your fighting power, you will have no problem keeping them occupied whilst also having the upper hand. Jian Wushuang said coldly. Yes, I can. Emperor Bai nodded his head. He fought the Master of the Black Dragon before, and knew how powerful he was. If he used his full power, he could fight 2 Old Monster Jiao alone, and still have the absolute advantage. That will be enough. You deal with the strongest 2, while I will deal with the remaining 20 experts who each have the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor, Jian Wushuang said. Chapter 2246 Threaten. I will settle the remaining experts who are at the power level of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. Jian Wushuang said casually. The Great Emperors including Emperor Bai looked over at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. There were 20 experts from the ancient past. Jian Wushuang could deal with them all alone? Jian Wushuang, are you sure? Emperor Bai asked. He knew that Jian Wushuang broke through and reached the ultimate phase of the 7th-step inverse cultivation, and his fighting power was much higher as compared to before. He also knew that Jian Wushuang could beat 3 experts from the ancient past alone. He had killed 2 and soul-controlled one of them. However, there were far more experts from the ancient past now compared to before. No worries, I know my limits. Jian Wushuang smiled confidently. 20 experts from the ancient past was indeed a terrifying lineup. Jian Wushuang would undoubtedly retreat if any of them currently possessed the fighting power they had in their prime. However, these 20 experts from the ancient past only had the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. Even though a Stage 3 Emperor was very powerful, they were nothing compared to Jian Wushuang. So what if there were more than 20 experts with this fighting power? I don't even need to use my full strength to defeat the 3 experts from the ancient past I met in the real martial arts divine church. But now, I can use these experts to gauge how powerful I really am. Jian Wushuang thought excitedly. Let's go, Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang said as he started to walk out of Thunderbolt Island alongside Emperor Bai, Old Monster Jiao, Chen Qi, and more than 20 experts from the ancient past were still stuck outside Thunderbolt Island by the protective formation. Their attacks could not forcefully destroy the formation, hence they stopped and started studying it. There were experts from the ancient past who studied formations. These experts were currently studying the protective formation. How is the progress? Old Monster Jiao asked coldly as he stared at the formation. My lord, Sir Xian Meng is the best person for this job. He said that he has a rough idea of how the formation works, and he needs around 15 minutes to break this formation. Chu, he said respectfully. 15 minutes? Old Monster Jiao fell silent. 15 minutes is far too long. By the time we break the formation, the experts from Sanctuary Alliance should have already escaped using the wormholes on the island, Chen Qi said. Humph. So what? After I destroy Thunderbolt Island, I will then head to the 10 sanctuaries and kill everyone there. Let's see if Emperor Bai and the other experts from Sanctuary Alliance continue to hide from me. Old Monster Jiao said with great killing intent. Hearing this, Chen Qi raised his eyebrows and many of the doubts he had were answered. It was evident that they had underestimated Sanctuary Alliance. While they were waiting for Xian Meng to find a way and break the formation, 2 figures walked out from within Thunderbolt Island. These 2 figures were Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. They stood opposite the group of experts from the ancient past. These experts looked over at the 2 men. Emperor Bai, Old Monster Jiao vision turned cold as a strong killing intent radiated from him. The other experts from the ancient past also fixed their gazes on the 2 men, trying to size them up. Is that Emperor Bai? Apparently, he is the strongest man in this era, and is extremely powerful. I have seen the projected image of the fight between him and Blood Emperor. He is really powerful. He would be nothing if there were no restrictions of heaven and earth. However, none of us could beat him, while we are all under the restrictions. The experts from the ancient past started to chatter discreetly as they focused their attention on Emperor Bai. They completely ignored Jian Wushuang. They recognized Jian Wushuang, but they thought he was nothing as compared to Emperor Bai. From the intel they had, Jian Wushuang was someone who had special techniques, but his fighting power was only that of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. They feared Emperor Bai, but they could not be bothered by Jian Wushuang. Haha, I thought you had escaped, Emperor Bai. I never thought that you would stay and show yourself in front of me. Old Monster Jiao stared intently at Emperor Bai as though he wanted to skin Emperor Bai alive. We do not need to retreat if you are our threat, Emperor Bai said coldly. Is that the case? Now that I have gathered another 20 experts from the ancient past, is this enough? Old Monster Jiao asked coldly. Emperor Bai, I know that you are unbeatable in this world. Even if I cannot kill you, I can destroy Sanctuary Alliance and kill everyone around you. I said before, I will take my revenge for my ride. You are too noisy, Emperor Bai said coldly. He then turned to the other experts from the ancient past and said, Experts from the ancient past. The Sanctuary Alliance did not provoke you at all, yet all of you are crossing the line and doing this to us? Haha, that is true. However, old monster Jiao requested that we do this. We must see to it till the end. Hence, I can only say that I am sorry, Sir Emperor Bai. Yes, the rewards Lord Jiao is giving is too good to refuse. Sorry that the Sanctuary Alliance needs to go through this. These divine demon experts from the ancient past mocked. Hearing this, Jane Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He had managed to sieve out important information. These experts were not subordinates of old monster Jiao. They only did what they were doing because old monster Jiao had given them something they wanted. This would make things a lot easier. Everyone, I suggest that you leave immediately, and the Sanctuary Alliance would pretend nothing has happened, and we will not treat all of you like enemies. If not, Emperor Bai said coldly. If now? What a joke. You are going to die and yet you're still threatening us? Dumbass. You are just an ant in the chaotic realm in this era. Do you really think you are powerful enough to stand up to us? The experts from the ancient past were enraged. Even though they feared Emperor Bai, they looked down on him. No matter how powerful Emperor Bai was, he was only an expert in the chaotic realm. The only reason he could threaten them was because of the restrictions of heaven and earth. Chapter 2247. Underestimate. They feared Emperor Bai due to the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth, which stopped them from using their true powers. Without the restrictions, they wouldn't have even been bothered by an expert in the chaotic realm like Emperor Bai. And now Emperor Bai was threatening them? What a joke. Emperor Bai, I don't think we can talk this through. Let's settle this with our fists. Jian Wushuang looked over at Emperor Bai and said, Yes. Emperor Bai nodded his head and replied, Hence the battle was unavoidable. Just like we planned, you will take the strongest 2 men, Jian Wushuang said. I will have no problems. You are the important one in this battle. Watch out for them, Emperor Bai said. Don't worry. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said. Emperor Bai stopped wasting time, as he radiated a terrifying aura. Boom! A 990,000-foot-tall golden figure appeared behind him, as a sea of golden divine power ocean swept out in all directions. You are old monster Jiao? If you want to take revenge for your ride, come at me, Emperor Bai's voice thundered. Die. Chen Qi, help me kill him. As for the rest of you, continue to break that formation. After we destroy the formation, kill everyone on Thunderbolt Island. Old monster Jiao and Chen Qi then flew towards Emperor Bai. Both of them were experts above the divine demon realm. Even with the restrictions of heaven and earth, the fighting power they had was that of an expert in the half-step divine demon realm. They worked together and were not afraid of Emperor Bai. Before long their fight began. Terrifying waves of aura and power could be felt from the battle. The experts from the ancient past in the divine demon realm were amazed when they felt the power of the battle. Emperor Bai is really powerful. Under the restrictions of heaven and earth, we in the divine demon realm can barely use the power of peak chaotic realm. Experts like Lord Jiao and Lord Chen Qi are both experts above the divine demon realm, yet they can only use power up to half-step divine demon realm. However, Emperor Bai has the fighting power of an ordinary expert in the divine demon realm. None of us can beat him alone. However, he cannot do anything while Lord Jiao and Lord Chen Qi keep him busy. We have sufficient time to destroy Sanctuary Alliance. These experts in the divine demon realm chatted casually. The other experts in the divine demon realm would follow Chu He's orders, as he was the subordinate of old monster Jiao. He commanded, Xian Meng, continue to look for a way to destroy the formation. As for the rest of you, prepare for battle. Oh yes, there is one more man. Chu He looked over at the space in front of him. A lone figure stood there. That man was Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang held a long sword, and he walked slowly towards these experts in the divine demon realm. He walked slowly with a cold expression. He was not radiating any aura or sword essence at all. The 20 experts from the ancient past were confused. This brat is the Sword Emperor? That should be the case. Apparently, he is known as the most talented man in this era. He cultivated for tens of thousands of years, and was already one of the most powerful men in this era. Tens of thousands of years, just to reach where he is. This is also considered talent. Bullshit. He has not been to our hometown, absolute beginning divine world. He is not even a tier 3 genius back there. These experts in the divine demon realm chatted casually. None of them took Jian Wushuang seriously. In this era, they only took Emperor Bai from the Sanctuary Alliance seriously. Even though Jian Wushuang was very popular within the eternal chaotic world, they could not be bothered with him. From the looks of it, this brat wants to fight us? He has courage. He is not retreating even though he is facing 20 experts in the divine demon realm alone. Who will kill him? I don't like him. Jian Wushuang continued walking towards them. Yet the experts in the divine demon realm were not vigilant at all. Sword Emperor. Even though the Sword Emperor is not very powerful, he has incredible techniques. Most importantly, he is close to Emperor 13. Hence we cannot kill him. All we need to do is to keep him occupied. Chu he knitted his eyebrows and said, Zishi, you're up. Chu, who looked at a devilish teenager standing beside him and said, What, why me? The devilish teenager started complaining, displeased. His fighting power was average amongst the experts in the divine demon realm present. Even though his current fighting power under the restrictions of heaven and earth was not that of a peak stage 3 great emperor, it was still more powerful than an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. He could even kill the Sword Emperor. It was a pity that the Sword Emperor had a special identity, and the devilish teenager could not kill him. All he could do was to keep him occupied. This meant that the devilish teenager had to hold back. Of course he was unwilling to go and deal with Jian Wushuang. No one there was willing to fight Jian Wushuang. Stop complaining. Go. Remember, keep him occupied and don't let him disturb us. Chu, he said sternly. Even though the devilish teenager was unhappy, he could not say no as he went up and stopped Jian Wushuang in his tracks. Brat, even though I am not allowed to kill you, I can still teach you a lesson. Hence, just keep still where you are. You will experience less pain this way. The devilish teenager folded his arms and looked at Jian Wushuang with disdain. Jian Wushuang finally looked up. What, you aren't going to fight me? Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Humph, I can't be bothered with someone like you. The devilish teenager grunted coldly. Is that the case? If you are not going to attack, I will. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows before smiling creepily and saying. He attacked once he finished his sentence. He was already in close proximity with the devilish teenager. He appeared in front of the teenager in just one step. He swung his blood mountain sword lazily. This swing looked like it had no power at all, as though it had been a child who had swung it. The sword sliced through the air peacefully and slowly. Chapter 2248 Attack. When Jian Wushuang attacked, the devilish teenager was angered. The devilish teenager did not want to fight Jian Wushuang, as he could derive no sense of satisfaction at all. After all, he was not allowed to kill Jian Wushuang. If Jian Wushuang stood there, the devilish teenager would not be willing to do anything at all. He never thought that Jian Wushuang would initiate an attack. Die! He roared as divine power surged in the devilish teenager's right hand. He then slapped towards the sword light made by Jian Wushuang. He thought that he could destroy the sword light and teach Jian Wushuang a lesson, even though he did not use his full power. In reality, puffed, when the seemingly feeble sword collided with his palm, the blade sliced through his hand, and his palm was sliced off. What? The devilish teenager's eyes widened in surprise. He realized something was wrong. The sword did not stop after slicing his hand off. It was headed for his head. Even though the sword seemed to travel slowly, it was too fast for the devilish teenager. It was so fast that he could not do anything to protect himself. Puffed. His head was sliced off. The experts in the divine demon realm, who were watching the battle, were stunned. How can this be? One sword. He killed Zishi with a single stroke? The Sword Emperor. The experts in the divine demon realm raised their heads and looked at Jian Wushuang in awe. The fighting power of the devilish teenager was considered average within the whole group. But even old monster Jiao and Chunqi could not have killed him with a single stroke. The Sword Emperor could not be an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. They did not know that Jian Wushuang was far stronger than before. There had been a gigantic leap in his fighting power. Jian Wushuang had never used his full power after he became much stronger. During the battle at the Real Martial Arts Divine Church, he had only used a portion of his full fighting power. However, his true fighting power had not been made known to the rest of the experts from the ancient past, as 2 out of the 3 experts from the ancient past had died in that battle, and the last expert was soul-controlled by Jian Wushuang. They thought that Jian Wushuang's fighting power had not changed much since the Great War against the 3 emperors whirled around 20,000 years ago. What they didn't know was Jian Wushuang's fighting power had reached another level. Now Jian Wushuang had finally used his full power. I did advise all of you to leave. None of you did. Since all of you do not want to leave, then stay forever. Jian Wushuang said coldly. His voice boiled with killing intent as it reverberated throughout the battlefield. He attacked once he finished his sentence. Watch out! So fast, this is space-time rules of order. The experts in Divine Demon Realm became cautious. Whoosh! His figure flashed as Jian Wushuang reappeared. An expert in the Divine Demon Realm stood in that space. It was Divine Demon Xian Meng, who was trying to find a way to break the formation. Oh no! When Jian Wushuang appeared, Meng Xian's face turned pale. He was about to turn around. Right when he was about to turn, a cold sword light appeared. This sword light was creepy and erratic. It appeared beside Xian Meng's neck without any signs at all. Sword Principal Xian Luo turned monstrous at one thought. Pfft! The sword light passed and crimson red replaced it. Divine Demon Meng Xian died. He could not even put up a fight. Hiss! The remaining experts in the Divine Demon Realm all took a sharp breath. It was too fast. Jian Wushuang was extremely fast, and his sword skill was even faster. In the blink of an eye, 2 experts in the Divine Demon Realm had died at his hand. Work together and kill him, Chu he ordered. The 5 closest experts in the Divine Demon Realm attacked Jian Wushuang immediately. Jian Wushuang glanced at the 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm as he swung his sword. This swing brought about a violent storm. The entire heaven and earth started shaking as it threatened to collapse. The 5 experts in Divine Demon Realm were like a small boat within a storm starting to be shaken violently. Boom! The battlefield shook as the 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm flew back like a cannonball. A single swing forced back 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm. Then, Jian Wushuang's figure blurred. Under the influence of the space-time rules of order, he was like a ghost. The experts in the Divine Demon Realm found it difficult to track Jian Wushuang, even when they used their soul power to do so. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang appeared in front of a well-built man. This well-built man was one of the strongest men among the experts in the Divine Demon Realm, as he had the fighting power of a top-tier Stage 3 Great Emperor, even though he was under the restrictions of heaven and earth. When Jian Wushuang appeared and slashed his sword at the man's throat, the well-built man was not afraid as he drew his battle axe. Right when he was about to use battle axe skills to force Jian Wushuang back, an attack appeared in his sea of consciousness. Soul attack, 3 divine lights, golden light scripture. The sea of consciousness of the well-built man was slammed hard as the man stood there, completely stunned. The sword light from Jian Wushuang was not affected as it sliced through the well-built man's throat. His dead body then dropped towards the ground below. What? Xiongshi, Divine Demon Xiongshi could not stop his sword? It is a soul attack, beware of his soul attack. Angry shouts were heard as these experts in the Divine Demon Realm finally took Jian Wushuang seriously by using their full fighting power. It was evident they had underestimated Jian Wushuang. To be precise, they had underestimated his sword skills and the power of his soul attack. Jian Wushuang dashed around in the battlefield in an eerie manner. The Blood Mountain sword he was holding was like a poisonous snake. This poisonous snake bit forward, slashed around in a weird manner, or turning into a dark vortex that swallowed everything there was. Jian Wushuang used whatever sword skills he had learnt within the Sword Doctrine Trial Tower on these experts. The sword skills he used were the most ordinary ones. Every single skill he used seemed arbitrary, even Sword Principal Xian Luo. He cast it effortlessly and smoothly. It was as though it was perfect. It was polished and refined. The experts in the divine demon realm tried their best. However, the longer the battle went on, the more they realized how terrifying Jian Wuxuan's sword skills were. They were incredibly fast and he could both attack and defend. It was difficult for them to find a weakness. Most importantly, his sword skills were far too sophisticated. Chapter 2249 Massacre. Back then, Jian Wuxuang's understanding of the sword doctrine had been mediocre and straightforward. The sword skills he had cast were extremely simple. After he cultivated within the sword doctrine trial tower for 1,000 years, his understanding of sword skills was completely different. There was more to sword skills than the techniques. The techniques were fixed and couldn't be changed. However, a human could be flexible. Those who knew how to use a sword could make a simple slash or jab even more precise and deadly compared to those ordinary experts who cast incredible sword skills. Those who did not know how to use a sword would have numerous weaknesses, even if they had incredible sword skills. They might not even be able to beat someone who used simple sword skills. Jian Wuxuang, who had cultivated within the sword doctrine trail tower, had been that way initially, but now he was the opposite. In the space, Jian Wuxuang stopped holding back as he used all the sword skills he had. His casual slash, flick, cut, thrust. Each move was used perfectly and smoothly. This was proof he had finally made the cut to be considered an expert in the sword doctrine. This was the difference between initial success in sword doctrine compared to an amateur. With the help of his sword skills, Jian Wuxuang could fend off the attacks from more than 20 experts in the divine demon realm easily. He could even counterattack frequently, while fending off the attacks targeted at him. He thrust out his sword. Before the sword skill reached the target, a terrifying soul attack would reach it first. Jian Wuxuang's soul attack had become even more powerful during the 24,000 years he was in slumber, as his soul power had experienced a great increase during this time. Now, a top-tier Stage 3 Great Emperor would not be able to handle his soul attack when he cast it together with the soul-swallowing pearl and the 3 divine lights secret skill. Even experts in the divine demon realm would experience a short blank in their consciousness when Jian Wuxuang's soul attacks land on them. This short blank was enough for Jian Wuxuang to cast his sword skills without giving his opponents a chance to defend themselves from the attacks. Fifth, Jian Wuxuang's sword light flickered again, as another head was detached from its body. Within moments, another sword light, which looked like fresh blood, penetrated the head of another expert in the divine demon realm. This expert died with both of his eyes wide open, unable to believe how he had died at the hands of Jian Wuxuang. The sixth, Jian Wuxuang continued the massacre with a cold attitude. A blurry light shrouded 2 other experts in the divine demon realm. Both of these experts only had ordinary fighting powers. Hence both experienced a short blank in their consciousness, even though Jian Wuxuang had targeted both of them with a single soul attack. Puft, puft. The blade entered their bodies, and the dead bodies fell towards the ground below. The eighth, Jian Wuxuang said casually. The 20 experts in the divine demon realm initially had not taken Jian Wuxuang seriously at all, as they had thought he was not a threat. They had severely underestimated Jian Wuxuang. Once the battle began, Jian Wuxuang's fighting power made the shiver in fear. Too fast. His speed is too fast and we cannot catch up to him. He is not only enlightened to the space-time rules of order, he also excels in using this power. His sword skills are very terrifying. He must have made the cut to become an amateur in sword doctrine. Amateur? What a joke. He must have reached initial success. Furthermore, his soul attack is far too powerful. We cannot stop it. Terrifying shrieks were heard across the battlefield. These experts in the divine demon realm were completely shocked by Jian Wuxuang's fighting power. His understanding and his use of space-time rules of order to reach incredible speed was amazing. His sophisticated sword skills were at the level of initial success in the sword doctrine. There was also the horrifying and unstoppable soul attack. The combination of these 3 made Jian Wuxuang their worst nightmare. Massacre. Ever since the battle started, it had been a one-sided massacre. Even though there were more than 20 experts in the divine demon realm, They didn't work together, hence they were not a threat to Jian Wushuang at all. Jian Wushuang could continue the massacre without worrying. No one could stop his soul attack. No one could be compared to his sword skills. Initial success stage in sword doctrine. Far too few experts in the divine demon realm could reach this stage, even back in the absolute beginning divine world. Even if someone did, their fighting power would be restricted, as they would be under the restrictions of heaven and earth. However, Jian Wushuang was completely unaffected by the restrictions of heaven and earth. He could use every single scrap of his fighting power to the fullest. Within moments, 11 out of the 20 experts in the divine demon realm had been killed by Jian Wushuang. That was about half of the total number. Too terrifying. The Sword Emperor is too terrifying. Who said we only needed to beware of Emperor Bai? What is going on with the Sword Emperor? Emperor Bai? He is definitely not as terrifying as the Sword Emperor. We were tricked. We were all tricked. The strongest man within the Sanctuary Alliance is not Emperor Bai, but the Sword Emperor. Run! Hurry up, escape! Hysterical roars from these experts were here on the battlefield. The remaining 10 experts in the divine demon realm were trembling in fear. They lost the courage to battle Jian Wushuang as they started to run away. Within moments, in under 2 breaths, about half of the experts there had been killed. If Jian Wushuang were to kill the remaining experts, he would do so within the time of a single breath. There was no way they could beat Jian Wushuang. If they continued to fight, they would definitely die. They knew this well, hence the experts all started to run away. As for Lord Jiao, even though the reward of a divine demon nirvana elixir was of very high value, it could only entice these experts to fight, not risk their lives. If they stayed and fought, they would definitely die. No one would die for Lord Jiao. Even Lord Jiao's subordinate, Chu He, escaped without hesitation. Within moments, 11 of the experts had died while the remaining escaped out of sight. Jian Wushuang stood there coldly even after killing 11 experts in the divine demon realm. It was as though he was killing 11 insignificant people. Chapter 2250 Stay. That's all the experts from the ancient past have. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself with an indifferent expression. These experts from the ancient past had had incredible fighting power back in their prime. Jian Wushuang would think that they were weak, because they were under the restrictions of heaven and earth. He could massacre them alone using only his blade. After settling these divine demons, what is next is... Jian Wushuang shifted his gaze as he looked at a battlefield not too far away. There, Emperor Bai was battling it out with Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi furiously. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi gave it their all by using the fighting power of a half-step divine demon realm expert. Yet they could barely match Emperor Bai. Both of them were at a disadvantage, even though they were fighting Emperor Bai with an advantage in terms of numbers. They had thought that if Emperor Bai was preoccupied, the remaining experts in the divine demon realm should be able to sweep Sanctuary Alliance without any problems. But then, whoosh, a figure appeared on this battlefield. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi stopped the fight and looked up. They fixed their gazes on Jian Wushuang, and they had a dark look on their faces. While both of them were battling with Emperor Bai, they had taken note of what was happening on the other battlefield. They had seen how Jian Wushuang had massacred more than half of those experts in divine demons within moments, and how he had forced the survivors to flee in terror. This brat. I thought you said that only Emperor Bai was the only powerful man from this era? Old Monster Jiao said as he fixed his gaze on Jian Wushuang. Who knows? From the fighting power he just displayed, he might be even more powerful than Emperor Bai, Chen Qi exclaimed, surprised. He had gone in depth to research about the experts in this era. He knew much about Jian Wushuang. He knew that Jian Wushuang only had the fighting power of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. However, the fighting power Jian Wushuang had was far greater than he had imagination. Not bad, Jian Wushuang. Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang as he spoke with glee in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had given him a big surprise. He knew that Jian Wushuang had broken through in terms of his realm and reached the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation. He had guessed that Jian Wushuang's fighting power must have skyrocketed. He had never thought that his improvement had been so extreme. He was enlightened to the space-time rules of order, possessed such powerful soul attacks, and most importantly, had that level of sword skills. That sword skill was too stunning. Emperor Bai, what is their fighting power? Jian Wushuang asked indifferently. They are very powerful. Even though I was at a slight advantage when I battled them both, there was nothing I could do with that advantage. Now that you are here, things will be different. Let's work together and kill them both, Emperor Bai said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded his head as killing intent started to grow in his eyes. This is troublesome. Sir Jiao, the fighting power of the Sword Emperor is far greater than what we thought. Now that the experts in the Divine Demon Realm are defeated, there is no way both of us can win against them when we can't even win against Emperor Bai. We should leave and think of other ways to take revenge. Chen Qi had a gloomy expression as he spoke to Old Monster Jiao. Old Monster Jiao squinted his eyes. He was extremely unwilling to back off just like that. Emperor Bai had killed his ride Scaly, who had been like a brother to him. He had sworn he would take revenge. He had never thought that he could not do so even after paying a hefty price to gather so many experts from the ancient past in the Divine Demon Realm. How could he be willing to back off just like this? However, no matter how unwilling he was, he knew how bad the current situation was. It would be a joke for him to face Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor together with Chen Qi. Let's go then. Old Monster Jiao signaled to Chen Qi secretly. Then, whoosh, whoosh, both of them dashed back without hesitation. You want to escape? Emperor Bai's eyes turned cold. It would be far too easy if you could come and go as you like, Jian Wushuang said coldly. The moment they finished speaking, a surging wave of divine power swept out from Emperor Bai. Punisher's hell. Boom. The 99,000-foot-tall golden figure shuddered as the heaven and earth threatened to collapse. Almost instantly, an ocean of golden divine power formed a wave tens of thousands of feet tall. The wave filled the entire battlefield as it crashed towards Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi. The terrifying power that even Stage 3 Great Emperor would have feared burst forth from that golden wave. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi's faces turned pale. They could feel the rippling power of that wave. There was an incredible pressure from the wave that slowed their escape. At the same time Emperor Bai attacked, divine power, and the ancient god bloodline power surged on Jian Wushuang. Ancient god secret skills, moon picking skill. It was as though heaven and earth froze for a moment. The space-time was completely sealed off. A giant warm palm appeared from thin air. It was as though it belonged to a mother as it picked towards the space where the space-time was sealed off. Bastard! Old Monster Jiao went into a rage when he felt that the space-time around him had been sealed off. His body enlarged into a 10-foot-tall giant as a black shadow hovered behind him. Within moments, he turned into a terrifying black god. The black god roared in anger as both of his arms swung about in a frenzy, smashing the space-time around him. The space-time started to break open layers at a time. As for Chen Qi, he too used an incredible technique. These two have mastered incredible techniques, unlike those I killed a few moments ago, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. A glint of emotion flashed across his eyes as Jian Wushuang said to Emperor Bai, Emperor Bai, we might not be able to kill them both here. Hence, both of us should use all our power to focus on killing one of them. Okay. Emperor Bai nodded his head. Both of them came to a consensus instantly. Both the golden wave and the moon-picking skill started to contract and head towards Old Monster Jiao. The two great emperors ignored Chen Qi. They knew that Old Monster Jiao was the mastermind behind this attack, as he wanted to take revenge for his ride. As for Chen Qi, he was just an expert that Old Monster Jiao had hired to help him take revenge. Hence, they would not allow Old Monster Jiao to escape no matter what. They would use their full power to kill him. Chapter 2251 Slaughter. Hong Long Long. Boundless divine power covered every single corner of the land and turned into an apocalyptic storm. In such an apocalyptic storm, zoom, a figure burst out. It was Chen Qi. His face was slightly pale, but his fighting power was not affected. He stood in the nearby void and looked towards the core of the battlefield. Old Monster Jiao was already tangled with the giant golden hand that emerged from the golden divine power sea. The space-time he was in had been completely sealed up as well. He had no way to escape. Old Monster Jiao's in trouble, Chunqi murmured. Without a doubt, Old Monster Jiao was in trouble. He knew it, but Chunqi had no intention of saving him. That Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor are strong. They only let me off because they wanted to focus on Old Monster Jiao. If I don't appreciate that, they'll do their best to take me down as well, Chunqi thought. He knew that Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai had many tricks up their sleeves. Neither of them had demonstrated secret skills of Star Palace yet. If they were to demonstrate that, they would be perfectly able to taking down both him and Old Monster Jiao. What worried Chunqi was that if he were to help Old Monster Jiao, he maybe stepped on him instead for him to escape. There was no way he could regret his decision then. I promised to help Old Monster Jiao, not fight to the death for him. Chunqi had made his decision. Mr. Jiao, I've tried my best, now you're on your own, Chunqi said and left. Damn it. Old Monster Jiao's expression changed as he saw Chunqi leave while he himself was still stuck within the golden divine power sea. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai smiled. Just as they had expected, Chunqi was only invited by the Old Monster Jiao, and had left when he sensed danger. With Chunqi gone, they could focus on killing Old Monster Jiao alone. His powers are much stronger than that of the ancient era experts I just took down. Makes me excited. Jian Wushuang smiled with bloodlust. Emperor Bai, I tackle him head-on. You find a chance to kill him. Okay, Emperor Bai nodded. Jian Wushuang made his move, and drifted towards the golden divine power sea, where Old Monster Jiao was still struggling. The great sword essence could be felt before he even arrived. The enormous divine power storm seemed to be affected by the sword essence. Immediately, the boundless divine power storm changed its direction and headed for Old Monster Jiao. Endless power, complete suppression on the Old Monster Jiao. Jian Wushuang pulled out his sword. A move like strong wind with the momentum of rainstorm. It was Sword Principal Xian Luo's Blast Rainstorm. As Jian Wushuang had improved immensely on his Sword Principal, his Sword Principal Xian Luo had become much more powerful in terms of both power and sword essence. The horrifying sword shadow was going straight for the Old Monster Jiao. Old Monster Jiao could feel the entire earth pressing down on him, making him breathless. You want to kill me, you? Old Monster Jiao completely morphed into that black monster, and boundless spiteful aura rolled over the lands. That spiteful aura was so intense that it pushed the golden divine power sea back. The Old Monster Jiao broke free of his shackles and gripped his right hand. Boundless black divine power was concentrated on it and punched out like a great mountain. Pung! A deafening roar rose. The boundless black divine power went spreading in a frenzy, and Old Monster Jiao was blasted out as well. Damn it! Old Monster Jiao's eyes were bloodshot, reluctant to accept the fact. He had heinous power, but was not able to demonstrate it due to the restrictions placed upon the earth. Yet Jian Wushuang's powers were easily at chaotic divine demon levels. Even if he went all out, he would still be suppressed by Jian Wushuang. The collision blasted him out, yet Jian Wushuang merely moved slightly and continued with his attack. Xiao! A blood shadow burst out. It was a crimson sword shadow. The sword shadow looked as if it was made out of pure concentrated blood, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of Old Monster Jiao. Sword Principal Xian Luo. Sanguis Extremis style. Old Monster Jiao had not completely stopped, but he could still defend himself, and was preparing to block Jian Wushuang's blade. But suddenly boom! A terrifying soul attack struck Old Monster Jiao's consciousness sea directly. Old Monster Jiao's brain was in a fuzz as if his soul was being knocked by a large drum. An unprecedented pain then came. The pain had the Old Monster Jiao gritting his teeth, but his consciousness did not come to a stop, and barely stretched his arm to block that crimson sword shadow. The crimson sword shadow, that cold blade landed directly on Old Monster Jiao's arm. At that moment, a terrifying power was released. The terrifying portion of Sword Principal Xian Luo's Sanguis Extremis style was that explosive power. It seemed normal, but the level of power it could release at that last moment was terrifying. Pung! Old Monster Jiao's arm had been directly ripped off, forming a huge hole on his torso. But the Blood Mountain sword did not stop, and kept going for Old Monster Jiao's holy body. HNGH. Old Monster Jiao let out a muffled snort. His chest now had a hole in it the size of a bowl, but it had not blasted through his entire body. Go away. Old Monster Jiao let out a roar. And immediately a black light beam was gunning for Jian Wushuang from the black monster he had morphed. With a close look at the black beams, one would realize that they were all divine-powered fists. Every single fist had earth-shattering power. Jian Wushuang took one step back and retreated 10,000 miles. He casually waved his Blood Mountain sword, and streaks of sword light appeared, dissipating all the black fists. At that moment, Hualala, that boundless golden divine power sea was heading for Old Monster Jiao once again. Chapter 2252. Although the intense fight was now not just between Jian Wushuang and Old Monster Jiao. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai had joined forces. 2 versus 1. Obviously Emperor Bai would not simply stand around, while Jian Wushuang was fighting Old Monster Jiao. Hualala. The golden divine power sea rushed over once again, and Old Monster Jiao's eyes turned cold. Get lost! Another angry roar was let out. Old Monster Jiao's black divine power rolled out once again, entirely blocking the golden divine power sea. But at that moment, Xiao, 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 streaks of golden light came bursting out from the surrounding golden divine power sea without warning. Those golden lights were Hongjun golden swords. Hongjun golden sword was one of Jian Wushuang's trump cards, and had helped him immensely throughout the years of battle. Its might went without saying as well. 20,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang could only manage to perform 7 Hongjun golden swords. But after Jian Wushuang had mastered the 7th step, and learnt about the rules of order, he could perform 9 Hongjun golden swords. 9 Hongjun golden swords, to the maximum number. The 9 Hongjun golden swords were hidden within the golden divine power sea, under Old Monster Jiao's radar. When it burst out, the 9 Hongjun golden swords were boosted with the help of space-time rules, and blasted out in unparalleled speeds. Dang! 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 9 rings that sounded like metallic collisions were let out continuously. The Hongjun golden swords were too fast for Old Monster Jiao to block. All 9 swords went through Old Monster Jiao's holy body. The terrifying shock went through his armor, and into his holy body. Pooh! Even Old Monster Jiao, against the 9 Hongjun golden swords, spat out a large mouthful of blood. His face instantly turned pale. He was blasted backwards. At that moment, Emperor Bai, situated in a void not too far away, caught a moment of opportunity. Punish, destroy. The terrifying powers from the Golden Emperor's palms were released and spread all over the land. They were closing in on where Old Monster Jiao was. Boundless power came pressing down on it. Old Monster Jiao's face instantly sank. His scaly had died under that move. He knew how terrifying that move was. The golden palms seemed to be moving slowly, but its terrifying powers horrified Old Monster Jiao as well. He began to resist it frenziedly. Hung! The Golden Emperor's palms finally closed in. The void Old Monster Jiao was in was naturally crushed into bits by the palms. Is he dead? Jian Wushuang looked towards the void indifferently. Coupling the 9 Hongjun golden swords and Emperor Bai's attack, he should have been dead by now. But in reality, a terrifying aura burst out from where Old Monster Jiao was. At the same time, a thick, disgusting bloody aura was rolled out. What? Jian Wushuang flinched. Is he not dead? Emperor Bai was shocked as well. They saw the figure of Old Monster Jiao rising up from the void once again. But only now he was in a miserable state. At the same time, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai realized there was another crimson secret restriction between his brows. The terrifying bloody aura was exuded from that crimson secret restriction. At a void far away from the battlefield, the ancient divine demons that Jian Wushuang chased away, and Chen Qi did not escape. They had their eyes glued on that battle. When Old Monster Jiao revealed his crimson secret restriction, is the life-preserving secret restriction from the Holy Land. Chen Qi was shocked. My lord, he used the life-preserving secret restriction? He can only use that 5 times in his life. Old Monster Jiao's subordinate Chu He was astonished as well. He knew exactly what the secret restriction meant. It was a tactic unique to the Holy Land, only used when desperate. Even during the ancient era battles, against the 7-star Divine Realm experts, Old Monster Jiao had not used his life-preserving secret restriction, but against the 2 elites of the current era Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang, he had no choice. The moment he used it, it meant that he was going all out. I'll die! A roar rose from the battlefield. Old Monster Jiao had a frenzied look on him. His thick and bloody aura had turned into an endless blood river. In the blink of an eye, the blood river had appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, closest to Old Monster Jiao. Jian Wushuang's eyes felt cold, and he pulled out his blood mountain sword. A simple stab carried boundless sword essence, and split the blood river apart. The enormous blood river was instantly ripped in half by Jian Wushuang. Damn it! Even after the life-preserving secret restriction, the restrictions on this earth are too much. I can't even fight against that sword emperor. Old Monster Jiao gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He had used his final trump card, but obviously that had no effect against Jian Wushuang. Run! Old Monster Jiao did not hesitate. After knowing there was no way to kill Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai, he used the added powers from the life-preserving secret restriction and tried to escape. A crimson phantom quickly escaped towards a nearby void from the center of the battlefield. Trying to escape? Jian Wushuang's face sank. But shock followed. He saw how fast the Old Monster Jiao was. Terrifying. Too fast. Even with my power of space-time, there is no way I could catch up with him, Jian Wushuang murmured. It was hard for him alone to catch Old Monster Jiao. Emperor Bai, catch him! Jian Wushuang shouted. Chapter 2253 Ultimate Kill. Without Jian Wushuang needing to remind him, Emperor Bai had already executed his Punisher's hell, as golden waves plunged for Old Monster Jiao. But as Old Monster Jiao, a crimson region had formed, blocking against the golden waves. The golden waves were not able to dissipate the crimson region, and Old Monster Jiao was left unharmed. Crap! Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai's faces were sour. They could tell that they had forced Old Monster Jiao to his limit. The Crimson Secret Restriction must have been his last resort. If they were not able to take down Old Monster Jiao, all their efforts would go down the drain. The Old Monster Jiao. He had gathered 20-odd chaotic divine demons at such short notice to take revenge for his scaly. If they were not able to take down Old Monster Jiao, he would continue to try to take revenge. There would be more ancient era experts by then. Because of that, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were determined to keep him. But now, he's too fast. My moon-picking skills not able to reach him, nor any of my other secret skills. Jian Wushuang's eyes went cold. If I used secret skills of Star Palace, it spread Punisher's hell's radius tenfold to limit his speed. But now he's already escaped to the edges of the golden divine power sea. I won't be able to stop him no matter what. Emperor Bai was indignant. Both of them chased him as hard as they could, but the distance between them was only getting wider. They watched as he reached the edge of the golden divine power sea and rushed out of its radius. It was impossible for them to chase him after he had escaped the divine power sea. Can we do nothing but let him escape? Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were very indignant. But at that moment something bizarre happened. Outside the divine power sea, where Old Monster Jiao was, a large hand that seemed to have held the entire sky appeared. The hand was gray and murky, and contained another power other than boundless divine power. It was reincarnation power. The hand appeared in front of Old Monster Jiao without warning. Old Monster Jiao was in a miserable state. The crimson secret restriction between his brows was still there. They were not that easy to activate. Furthermore, he had been seriously injured by Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. He was like an oil-exhausted lamp. Luckily, he had escaped the golden divine power sea before the crimson secret restriction had dissipated. That meant that he had successfully escaped. All he needed to do was to escape and restore his powers. Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor. Old Monster Jiao clenched his fists in rage. You too shall wait. I will be back. No chances will be given to you then. If 20 is not enough, I'll bring 200. Just wait and see. He was already planning how to take revenge against the Sanctuary Alliance. But at that moment, the large hand that seemed to have held the entire sky appeared. What? Old Monster Jiao was in a state of shock. He had his eyes dead on that hand. The hand's endless reincarnation power could have been easily blocked, if not for the injuries sustained from when he was fighting Jian Wushuang. Furthermore, he was already on the run for his life. This aura, it's you old geezer. Old Monster Jiao let out a hysterical roar, for he had recognized the owner of that hand. He was completely enraged because he recognized it. Fit of rage. He had never expected to fall into the old geezer's trick after escaping from Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. No. With a roar, the old Monster Jiao was completely covered by that hand. Under his resistance, the hand did not kill him, but slapped him with terrifying power. He had originally been on the run, with Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai behind him. Now he was being slapped back by the palm? In the direction of Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai? There's our chance. Jian Wushuang was elated as his 9 Hongjun golden swords went bursting out. The Blood Mountain sword was rolled out as well. Chi, chi, chi. Old Monster Jiao's body could no longer defend against the golden streaks of light, and had his head cut off by the sword of Jian Wushuang. Old Monster Jiao, who had dominated the ancient era, with a name back in the absolute beginning divine world, was now dead. Xiao, xiao. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai gathered together to witness the decapitated old Monster Jiao, and heaved a sigh of relief. He's finally dead. He's dead at last. While Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were relieved, they were still gasping regarding what had happened. The ancient era experts were not to be underestimated even under the restrictions placed on the earth. The ancient era experts that Jian Wushuang had slaughtered were at chaotic divine demon at best. But old Monster Jiao was terrifying. Even under the restrictions, regardless of Jian Wushuang or Emperor Bai, none of them to take him down. Even when they had teamed up, he had almost escaped. Jian Wushuang could not imagine how strong he would have been at his pinnacle, like when Jian Wushuang had taken down Blood Emperor. Then what about people like Emperor 13, strong enough to shake and alter the restrictions based on power alone? Ancient era, absolute beginning divine world. I wonder how powerful that place was, Jian Wushuang murmured. Yes, that hand. Emperor Bai opened his mouth. Jian Wushuang's gaze shifted. Chapter 2254. The Great Sheikh. Old Monster Jiao had already escaped from the golden divine power sea. He could have made it out. But that giant hand appeared at the final moment, bouncing him back towards where Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were. That was why old Monster Jiao died. Whose hand was that? Emperor Bai frowned. He only saw the hand, not the person that cast it. If I'm not wrong, that hand was cast by that senior, Jian Wushuang said. That senior? Jian Wushuang, you know the owner of the hand? Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang. Probably, but I can't be sure either, Jian Wushuang replied. Emperor Bai, I'll leave the rest to you. I'm going to try to find that senior. Okay, if you find him, tell him thanks from the Sanctuary Alliance, Emperor Bai said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and immediately made his way towards the void ahead. At the edge of that void, Chen Qi and the other ancient divine demons that Jian Wushuang had chased away had gathered together. The chaotic divine demons and Chen Qi fell silent. Their eyes were glued on the battlefield. Lord Jiao is dead? Lord Jiao was from the Holy Land. Not only was he powerful, he had many skills up his sleeve, but he was forced to use his life-preserving method, and still he did not make it out. Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai are terrifying. The chaotic divine demons had their hearts in their mouths, but at the same time, they were extremely relieved. They thanked the heavens that they had not been so foolish as to engage the Sword Emperor. They would have become corpses if they did. Right, did you all notice the giant hand? A chaotic divine demon asked. Of course, it was because of that hand that Lord Jiao died. Who cast the hand? I don't know, But the person that did was definitely more powerful than Lord Jiao at his peak. The chaotic divine demon talked about it casually. That hand. Chen Shi squinted. He had naturally noticed the giant hand, but also the immense reincarnation power it possessed. I thought of someone, perhaps it was him, Chen Shi murmured. He's an old geezer from the 7-star Black Sect, a terrifying old man. The chaotic divine demons around Chen Shi shifted their gazes towards him. Chen Shi did not mention the geezer's name, but the chaotic divine demons had had a good guess as to who it was. Okay, regardless, Lord Jiao is dead. Guess we can forget about the divine demon nirvana elixir, a slouching man said. The other chaotic divine demons shrugged their shoulders with reluctance. Old Monster Jiao had indeed promised them a divine demon nirvana elixir each, after they returned to the absolute beginning divine world. Chen Shi owed Old Monster Jiao a favor. But now that Old Monster Jiao was dead, the things he had promised would be impossible to retrieve. They had worked in vain. We made the trip in vain and almost lost our lives, a chaotic divine demon said. It was not in vain. We got to see how powerful the Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai were. With the restrictions placed on the earth, them guarding this era would be all too easy. We may be chaotic divine demons, but we are no match for them. They could even take down Lord Jiao. We are nothing but small fry to them. We should lie low for this period of time. If we anger or offend Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor, we won't even get the chance to escape. Only 3,000 more years, until the link passage at Heaven's Horizon opens. Let's just stay put. The chaotic divine demons had made their decision. Soon, they all left one by one, including Chen Shi. As they left, the news regarding the battle spread across the eternal chaotic world, to the ears of the Ancient Era experts that had just awoken. 90% of the awakened Ancient Era experts were chaotic divine demons. They were all shocked by the news. Lord Jiao. Lord Jiao of the Holy Land is dead? Lord Jiao ruled the ancient battlefields, but he died at the hands of 2 chaotic realm punks? Emperor Bai and that Sword Emperor seemed to be impressive chaotic realm experts, especially that Sword Emperor, slaughtering a dozen chaotic divine demons alone, and sending the rest to run for their lives. Without a doubt, killing chaotic divine demons like us is like killing livestock to them. Even Lord Jiao and Chen Shi had to run for their lives. Whether you could escape successfully was a different question altogether. We have got to watch our backs. We can't afford to offend them. It took me so much effort to wake up. I'm not going to lose my life to Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor. The newly awoken Ancient Era experts had had their reservations towards Emperor Bai in the past, but they did not fear him. To a lot of the chaotic divine demons, even if they were no match for Emperor Bai, they could easily escape. But after that battle, they had a better understanding of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. It was evident that Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang could easily kill chaotic divine demons, especially Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang killed chaotic divine demons, as if he was slaughtering chickens. Of course, the chaotic divine demons feared him. They kept their heads down, and dared not offend the Sanctuary Alliance. Even the experts beyond chaotic divine demon levels started being careful. They only had one life after all. Chapter 2255 Can T do a secluded dark void within the eternal chaotic world. Lord Bingshan, these are the resources you need. The quantity may be lower than what you expected, but I have tried my best. The veiled white-clothed woman Lung Rushua stood there, and handed a Qiankuan ring to a burly man with a height of more than 3 meters. He was like a mountain. The burly man received the Qiankuan ring, glanced at it and nodded. With this, I can ensure my powers will not deteriorate in the short term. Thank you, Miss Lung. You're too kind, Lord Bingshan. Lung Rushua replied humbly. Master instructed me to ensure you are restored to your full powers. We need you to eradicate the restrictions on the land. Eradicate them completely? Bingshan shook his head. With my current abilities, that's impossible. Lord Bingshan, you could not do it alone. But what if you had help from the awoken ancient divine demons? Lung Rushua asked. Still impossible. Bingshan continued to shake his head. I got someone to do the calculations. There were many experts that were not able to escape, but more of them are weak. They are only chaotic divine demons. Unfortunate experts beyond chaotic divine demon levels, like myself, are scarce. Furthermore, more than half of the experts in sleep have died. They can no longer be woken up. That leaves us with less than 100 ancient era experts. Even with 100 men, under your leadership, it should be enough to eradicate the restrictions. After all, there are not many experts around in this era. Lung Wuxia was puzzled. If my opponent were cultivators from the current era, I could take them down easily, no problem. But the geezers from the 7-star divine realm have woken up as well. They will not watch me eradicate the restrictions. This is 7-star divine realm, after all, Bing Shan replied. Although most 7-star Black Sect experts were slain during that battle, a few survived. Those were the strongest, beyond chaotic divine demon levels. Even that Emperor 13 survived, and I heard had been active way before we woke up. Yes, Lung Wuxia nodded. Emperor 13 appeared twice before you woke up, and demonstrated terrifying powers. Emperor 13 was one of the reasons the Blood Emperor died. Emperor 13 may be powerful, but you should be able to resist him, right? Lung Wuxia asked casually. Resist? Bing Shan flinched and smiled bitterly. In terms of the level of cultivation base, we are indeed the same. Even if I were slightly stronger than him, in terms of cultivation base, that cannot represent the true powers. Emperor 13 went one-on-one against the Master of Holy Land, whereas I would be killed with a flick of that person's wrists. Furthermore, that Sword Emperor could alter and shake the restrictions placed on the land based on power alone, reaching half-step divine demon levels. I cannot go against that. Bing Shan had been an equally famous elite expert during the ancient era. Besides the 7-star Black Sect experts that had not managed to escape during the ancient battle, the strongest person around was likely Bing Shan. He was much stronger than even Blood Emperor. He was strong, but he also knew his limits. In terms of cultivation bases, he was no worse than Emperor 13. But as for his true strength, you could tie 10 Bing Shans together, and that still would not be enough to go against Emperor 13. With Emperor 13 and those 7-star Black Sect geezers, it's a joke to say we could eradicate the restrictions, Bing Shan said. Right. Aren't those experts going to activate the link passage at Heaven's Horizon 3,900 years later? If they could send a batch of experts over here, we could completely eradicate the 7-star Black Sect. No way, Lung Wuxia shook her head. In the first era, Master and the others tried doing this, but they all died along with the many cultivators of that era. Only 3 people survived from that batch of experts. But as the restriction on the Earth expands, the formation gets stronger. Master and the others could find a way to barely open a space tunnel for us, but it would be impossible to send experts over unless Master and the others sacrificed their lives for it. Air! Bing Shan was stunned and smiled bitterly. Lung Wuxia's master was one of those few lords from the absolute beginning divine world. They were mighty, and at high positions. They could accept if they had to pay a lighter price. But sacrificing their own lives, just to eradicate the 7-star Black Sect? How could they agree to that? If that is the case, we have no choice, Bing Shan said. We don't have a choice, we can only let this place survive. This piece of land has been sealed up by that formation anyway. There's no way any experts could come from this land anymore. The 7-star Black Sect poses no threat towards the absolute beginning divine world. Lung Wuxia smiled. But at that moment, Bing Shan's gaze shifted. Lord Bing Shan, what is it? Lung Wuxia looked over. I just received the news. Jiao He is dead, Bing Shan said solemnly. Old Monster Jiao. Lung Wuxia frowned. Jiao He was Old Monster Jiao's full name. Not many people knew that. How could that be? Besides Lord Bing Shan, yourself, Emperor 13, and the other experts, who else could have killed him? Lung Wuxia was puzzled. According to the news, Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai from this era took him down. Although another expert came to help, he simply prevented Jiao He from escaping, Bing Shan said. Chapter 2256 From Two Different Worlds. Sword Emperor? Emperor Bai. Lung Rushua was shocked. Looks like I underestimated these chaotic realm rascals of this era. This Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai, they are good. Especially that Sword Emperor. He slaughtered more than a dozen divine demons, while surrounded by 20-odd chaotic divine demons. And with lightning speed as well. With the restrictions placed on this land, even I may not be equipped to go against him. Bing Shan smiled. But he was full of praise for Jian Wushuang. To have reached that level at a chaotic realm, he would have been considered a genius back at the absolute beginning divine world. Sword Emperor, Jian Wushuang. Lung Rushua gave a strange smile. When the link passage at Heaven's Horizon opens in 3,900 years, I'll make my way directly back to the absolute beginning divine world. I won't get to see him anymore. Haha, he said he wanted to save that stupid woman. Looks like that was no more than a joke. Lung Rushua had always had contempt for Jian Wushuang. That was despite Jian Wushuang's jaw-dropping speed of improvement in the eternal chaotic world. Jian Wushuang had surpassed her expectations multiple times, but none of that had changed Lung Ruxia's opinion of him. After all, Lung Rushua was certain she and Jian Wushuang had come from two different worlds in the very beginning. It was true that Jian Wushuang was extremely talented, but his talents were only limited to that world. He was stuck there with no way of leaving those lands. Of course, his achievements were limited. To Lung Rushua, Jian Wushuang had already peaked. Jian Wushuang had no chance of improving, but she was different. She had the heavenly body, and a master of Holy Land-level teacher behind her. 3,900 years later, she would head towards the absolute beginning divine world, through that linked tunnel, and truly begin to emerge. She would rise step by step in the absolute beginning divine world, eventually surpassing her master. But Jian Wushuang would forever be trapped in that land. Chaotic realm would be the highest attainable for him. Poor Jian Wushuang. Lung Rushua shook her head and laughed. The moment news of old monster Jiao's death spread, Jian Wushuang made his way to another void at lightning speed. Before long, he was in a dark void and saw a white-haired elder standing there quietly. The white-haired elder squinted his eyes. He was like a ball of air. No aura exuding from him at all. He stood there as if he was waiting for Jian Wushuang to arrive. Jian Wushuang's eyes were fixed on the elder the moment he saw him. It's him after all. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and stepped forward. Young Jian Wushuang, I am here to pay respects to the one-star man, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. The respect was sincere. The white-haired elder indeed deserved the respect of Jian Wushuang. He was greatly indebted to Jian Wushuang. Back at the Buddhist Demon Sea, as Jian Wushuang was being chased down by Acheron Palace, at that edge of life and death, when old monster Jiao's dragon had attempted to eat Jian Wushuang, it had been him. He had saved Jian Wushuang's life. Not only had the one-star man stopped the black water dragon, but he had also provided Jian Wushuang with a decent opportunity before escorting Jian Wushuang out of the Buddhist Demon Sea. One-star man had both guided and saved him. Jian Wushuang naturally had great respect for him. Jian Wushuang also knew that the great hand that had stopped old monster Jiao outside Thunderbolt Island had been performed by the one-star man Jian Wushuang. Lad, that is your name? One-star man opened his calm, stagnant eyes and glanced upon Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. I watched you fight old monster Jiao. It's only been a few thousand years, but your powers have improved so much? One-star man was impressed and shocked. When he first met Jian Wushuang at the Buddhist Demon Sea, he had been but a real god lad. Even though he already had good fighting power, old monster Jiao, one-star man, and maybe even the dragon could take down Jian Wushuang easily. To be able to force old monster Jiao to such a predicament, I think even I am no match for you. One-star man said casually. Nonsense. Your powers are limitless, but only restricted to the rules of this land. If not for that, you could take down thousands of lads like me in an instant. Jian Wushuang laughed. He was flattering him, but there was some truth in it as well. He could only take down the ancient era experts due to the restrictions. Without it, even a chaotic divine demon could have pressed him down. Indeed, experts like old monster Jiao and one-star man could have killed him without wasting a single breath. Haha, you talk well. One-Star Man laughed in a way that may or may not have been genuine. Jian Wushuang straightened himself and said, "Thank you so much for your help. If not for you, old monster Jiao would have escaped." "It's nothing." One-Star Man waved his hand. "I just happened to be around. Old monster Jiao was from the Holy Land, my enemy since the beginning. My consciousness incarnation fought him several times back in the Buddhist Demon Sea. I would never miss the chance to take him down." "Thank you regardless." Jian Wushuang was still very grateful. "Oh yes, if you are free. Would you care to join me at Thunderbolt Island?" "Thunderbolt Island? It's okay." One-Star Man shook his head. "Even though I have awakened, it won't be for long. I do not wish to tangle myself up with the experts of this era." Jian Wushuang was disappointed. Jian Wushuang asked again, "Senior, did you wake up for the link passage at Heaven's Horizon?" "Yes." One-Star Man nodded as his gaze turned solemn. Chapter 2257 Reincarnation Pearl. The link passage was formed by the hands of those masters of Holy Land, at the absolute beginning divine world. The last time the passage was formed, I was in such a bad condition I could not even awaken. But this time is different. 7-star Black Sect experts, myself and many more have all awakened. We are afraid the absolute beginning divine world may send another batch of experts to ignite a war. One-Star Man's voice was solemn. Jian Wushuang could not help but sink into despair. One-Star Man's worries were the same as his. The last time the link passage had opened, absolute beginning divine world had sent many experts down to clear the land. Luckily, experts of the first era had given it their all and sacrificed much to protect the land they stood on. But if they were to send another batch of experts... But it's obvious I am overthinking it. The formation that sealed up the land is way more powerful than it was before. Unless the masters of Holy Land are willing to sacrifice their own lives to open the passage, I don't think they will ever do it." One-Star Man laughed. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. Emperor 13 had said the same thing previously, but he dared not be complacent. "Does it mean you intend to resume sleeping after the link passage closes 3,900 years later?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Indeed." One-Star Man nodded. "Though the formation sealed this earth away from absolute beginning divine world, giving the 7-star divine realm and 7-star Black Sect a chance to survive, the formation takes 99% of spiritual energy from this land to operate. In such an environment, sleeping is the only way to survive." From what One-Star Man said, he learnt that the cultivating environment was deteriorating due to the formation. "Senior, I know a place, a cultivating environment that is way better than eternal chaotic world, and the spiritual energy rises across time. Maybe you should go there," Jian Wushuang said. Such a place exists?" One-Star Man was shocked. "My hometown Greenfire World. I could take you there if you want," Jian Wushuang said. "No rush. I still have some resources to move around. It's been so long since I woke up. I'm not in a hurry to go back to sleep, but I'll consider heading there once the link passage closes." One-Star Man laughed. "I will be there to receive you," Jian Wushuang smiled. "Oh, if I'm not wrong, you've mastered a bit of reincarnation rules of order?" One-Star Man asked him suddenly. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded. He knew One-Star Man was a super expert in spacetime rules. Every move he made contained terrifying reincarnation power. It was normal that he could sense that Jian Wushuang had mastered a bit of reincarnation rules of order as well. "When I last met you at the Buddhist Demon Sea, I gave you an opportunity, but that was my consciousness embodiment at that time. And that opportunity will be meaningless for you now. Let me pass you something else." One-Star Man took out a gray pearl. The gray pearl exuded a gray murky aura, and looked very mysterious. "This is..." Jian Wushuang looked at it confused. "Something I made in my pinnacle period, the reincarnation pearl. Not very powerful, but it has a small-scaled reincarnation for you to master a bit of reincarnation rules of order. You only made contact with reincarnation doctrine, not the full reincarnation rules of order yet. It should benefit you," One-Star Man smiled. "Thank you." Jian Wushuang took it without hesitation and was elated. "You're welcome. Remember, after the link passage closes, it'll be bothering you at Greenfire World. Don't go complaining at that time. One-star man smiled. No way. Your presence would be Green Fire World's honor, Jian Wushuang replied. It was true. If it were another ancient era expert, even from the 7-star Black Sect, Jian Wushuang may not have invited them over, because he did not know how those experts were. But One-star man was different. He was indebted to him, and after 2 interactions, Jian Wushuang could tell he had no ill intentions. Jian Wushuang naturally welcomed him to the Green Fire World. Now that's settled, he'll make a move first, One-star man said and vanished. Jian Wushuang sent him off respectfully, heaving a sigh of relief after One-star man had left his soul-sensing range. He gazed upon that reincarnation pearl. Reincarnation pearl? This gray pearl? He thought of the gray pearl that helped with inverse cultivation. The reincarnation pearl had a similar material to the inverse cultivation gray pearl, but it gave Jian Wushuang a completely different feeling. Without much thought, Jian Wushuang left. Not long after Jian Wushuang had left, a figure reappeared at that void. It was One-star man. He still had that faint smile on his face, but now he was holding on to a transmission token. As per your instructions, I've passed the pearl to the lad. I told him the pearl would help him with reincarnation power, but not its real purpose, One-star man said. Understood. A cold voice came from the other side of the token. One-star man smiled and left. Chapter 2258. Samsara. After the fight at Thunderbolt Island, most awoken ancient era experts were shocked and decided to simply stay put. The peace of the eternal chaotic world was restored. Jian Wushuang returned to Green Fire World Wushuang City. In the secret room, Jian Wushuang sat there cross-legged. In front of him was a floating gray pearl. It was the reincarnation pearl. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes as his consciousness entered the reincarnation pearl. Indeed, there was a small reincarnation inside that contained strong reincarnation rules of order. For Jian Wushuang, it was extremely profound. One-star man handed me something really useful for my reincarnation rules of order. Jian Wushuang smiled and immersed himself in enlightenment. Time passed relentlessly, as 3,700 years passed by. There were only 200 more years till the Heavens Horizons Link passage opened. That was a very short period of time. Wushuang City in a large manor. The manor had lush flowers and other sorts of fauna full of life. Jian Wushuang stood there with his eyes shut, hands clenched upon the Blood Mountain sword. Reincarnation? A flower, since its germination, to its blooming to its withering, will only take months or even days. In such a short period of time, it has undergone one cycle. A tree from its sprout to its eventual natural death, or perhaps it was chopped down one cycle. A man from life to death a cycle. Jian Wushuang was murmuring. Suddenly he pulled out his sword. He gradually lifted the Blood Mountain sword, then plunged it towards the void in front. It seemed like a normal powerless jab, but immediately a reincarnation force came pouring out. The lush manor garden immediately withered upon contact with the reincarnation power, losing all signs of life. But that was the beginning. The moment those flowers withered, new ones grew to replace it, then they withered again. From germination to its withering, from withering to new life. The fauna in the manor seemed to be stuck in a cycle. This is reincarnation. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and gave a faint smile upon seeing it. From life to death one cycle. From death to life another cycle. Reincarnation is the cycle between life and death. This sword brings about reincarnation power, allowing life around it to rest and be brought back to life. I shall name the sword move Samsara. Jian Wushuang smiled. Samsara was the name of that sword move. It had been a long time since Jian Wushuang had created his own sword principle. Ever since he had the sword principle Xian Lua with him, he had only focused on increasing his own understanding of general swordsmanship. The sword principle Xian Lua was enough. Sword principle Xian Lua was impressive, but at the end of the day, it was the product of others. It suited Jian Wushuang, but he may not have been able to fully exert the power of it. But self-created sword skills were different. With his own sword principle, he could master it. With Samsara, Only Jian Wushuang would be able to demonstrate its full power. Others would find it impossible to fully understand the hidden secrets behind the sword principle, the small reincarnation power within the reincarnation pearl. I learned it for 3,700 years. I'm still far away from one-star man though. I may be able to use samsara based upon my reincarnation rules of order to affect fauna, but not humans yet. If I attained a higher understanding of reincarnation rules of order to affect cultivators, I could make them reincarnate from life to death, and from death to life in front of me. That would be scary, Jian Wushuang murmured. He knew he was far away from that goal. As he was deep in thought, a figure slowly walked over. Emperor Bai, what brings you here today? Jian Wushuang smiled. It was Emperor Bai. I'm here for something, Emperor Bai said as he looked at the surrounding manor. The flowers in the manor were still going through life and death. What a cryptic method! Emperor Bai was shocked. A mere parlor trick, Jian Wushuang smiled. Emperor Bai gave Jian Wushuang a deep look with a strange expression on his face. 3,700 years ago at Thunderbolt Island, Jian Wushuang's power had already shocked him. At that time, he realized Jian Wushuang's power was perhaps slightly more powerful than him. But now, he realized Jian Wushuang had become more unfathomable than before. Evidently, he had improved tremendously. Jian Wushuang was way ahead of him. The speed of Jian Wushuang's progress is really scary, Emperor Bai exclaimed secretly. Jian Wushuang, I heard you were looking for someone all these years. That person was the original Holocaust sect leader, right? Jian Wushuang flinched, but he admitted without answering. The sect leader was Lung Wuxia. Since the battle against 3 emperors whirled 30,000 years ago, Lung Wuxia had disappeared. He had used the Sanctuary Alliance to help track her down as well, to no avail. But now, Emperor Bai had come down personally. Did you find her? Jian Wushuang asked. Indeed, Emperor Bai nodded. Eternal chaotic world seems peaceful these years, but trouble is brewing behind the scenes. Especially those ancient era experts. More have awoken these past 3,000 years. Chapter 2259 The Only Chance. The ancient era experts that woke up have kept their hands to themselves for now in the eternal chaotic world. But their numbers are many. The Sanctuary Alliance would make compromises at times. Recently, we formed a line of communication with them as well. The Sanctuary Alliance learnt not too long ago that it was the Holocaust sect leader that spread the news regarding the opening of the Link Passage. Many ancient era experts were awakened personally by the sect leader, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang frowned, but his gaze did not change much. Based on what the Sanctuary Alliance knows, the sect leader has a close relationship with one super existence at the absolute beginning divine world. 200 years later, this sect leader will likely head towards absolute beginning divine world as well. Emperor Bai glanced at Jian Wushuang. He had known long ago about the relationship between Jian Wushuang and the sect leader. That was why he had informed Jian Wushuang as soon as possible. And as he expected, Jian Wushuang's face turned extremely sour after hearing it. Lung Wuxia will head over 200 years later? Jian Wushuang murmured, and could not help but clench his fists. No, I cannot let that happen. If she heads for the absolute beginning divine world, it'll lose Shuang. Jian Wushuang knew people of the current era could not pass through that link passage towards absolute beginning divine world. They were all cultivators of the 7-star divine realm. Experts on the other side would definitely slaughter them for that. But the link passage was the only way into the absolute beginning divine world. If Lung Wuxia were to pass through it, he could not do anything about it. He would lose his wife. When the link passage opens 200 years later, I must block her. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Emperor Bai had obviously read Jian Wushuang's mind. The man behind the Holocaust sect leader is very powerful in absolute beginning divine world. One of the super experts at Master of Holy Land level. The link passage was opened with the help of him and others. With such a huge background, no awoken ancient era expert dares to offend the Holocaust sect leader. It'll be tough for you to block her. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. He knew what Emperor Bai had said was true. If he were to block Lung Rushue when she entered with the other ancient era experts, the rest would gang up on him like a hive of bees. Meaning to say, if he wanted to block Lung Rushue, he would need to go through all the ancient era experts. Shuang is my wife, suppressed by Lung Rushue. If Lung Rushue heads towards absolute beginning divine world, he'll never see my wife again. 200 years later, at the heavens horizon, will be my only chance. I have no choice. Regardless of the price I have to pay, I must block her. Jian Wushuang's eyes were twinkling brightly. He was determined. He knew it would be difficult to block Lung Rushue from the ancient era experts. But he had to do it. Whatever the cost. Even if it meant giving away his life. Understood, do what you must. The Sanctuary Alliance and I will assist you all the way, he said. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. No problem. I'll go make the preparations, Emperor Bai said and left. Only Jian Wushuang was left at the manor. 200 years later, heaven's horizon. My only chance. Jian Wushuang was determined. He had to make his move by then. Naturally, he'd have to prepare for it. Emperor 13. Jian Wushuang took out his transmission token. What is it? A cold and emotionless voice responded. 200 years later, the link passage at heaven's horizon will open. I need to block one person, but the others will certainly prevent it from happening, Jian Wushuang said. He knew Emperor 13 would understand the meaning behind his words. He was asking for help. Understood, Emperor 13 replied coldly. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Understood? That was it. Jian Wushuang knew that it probably meant that Emperor 13 had agreed to help. After a deep breath, he took out another token. It was One Star Man's transmission token. He had received it from him when he had passed the reincarnation pearl as well. Now he could keep in contact with him. One Star Man, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. What is it, lad? One Star Man's voice was still mild. Jian Wushuang explained the situation and finally asked, I was hoping you could help me. That's it. One Star Man laughed. No problem. I will try to block them from leaving anyway. I'll even get my friends to help. It was a bit of a stretch to go against so many ancient era experts with him, Emperor Bai, and the Sanctuary Alliance. But with Emperor 13 and One Star Man's help, things would go much more smoothly. And One Star Man would call up his friends as well. His friends were undoubtedly 7-star Black Sect experts that had woken up. Chapter 2260 Family Jian Wushuang felt much more confident, with the help of Emperor 13 and One Star Man. What he did not know was, after ending transmission with the One Star Man, somewhere in the eternal chaotic world, he was giving off a devious laugh. I was thinking about how to make him make his move at heaven's horizon, but he approached me instead. Perfect. Within Wushuang City, Jian Wushuang was prepping himself for the task 200 years from then. There was not much he could improve in 200 years. What he needed to do was straighten things out. Heaven's horizon would be different 200 years from now. Previous experiences had shown him that experts all had their limits. But he would face ancient era experts. To them, he was no more than a chaotic realm rascal. It would prove difficult to block Lung Rushue. The dangers that lurked were far beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. He had a feeling that he might not make it out. Therefore, he needed to settle and prepare everything, in case he never got a chance to after Heaven's Horizon. Luckily, Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars had both improved immensely, and were way more powerful than before. Especially Green Fire World, from which countless experts emerged. Even without Jian Wushuang guarding Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars, no one would dare mess with them. Jian Wushuang simply needed to give the command. Wushuang City, still within the big manor, 3 figures sat around the stone table. They were Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan and Su Rou. They were drinking. Haha, what a blast! Old 3. It's been some time since we had such a gathering. Wang Yuan laughed as he looked at Jian Wushuang. If Old 3's not training, he's fighting for Green Fire World and Eternal Chaotic World unlike you. Su Rou glanced Wang Yuan. Haha, true, Wang Yuan nodded. Jian Wushuang joined them, and drank with the 2 brothers he had met in the ancient worlds. They were all elated. It's a pity that old Tu's not here. Wang Yuan sighed. Jian Wushuang's face changed. Old Tu Yang Zishuan had died at the hands of the Devil Church along with Tang Emperor and Emperor Shao. It was like a thorn in their hearts. I heard that at the ancient era expert's hometown absolute beginning divine world, there are super beings that could reverse time and revive the dead. Maybe they could bring back old Tu, Jian Wushuang said. Easily said, but where do we find them? Wang Yuan shrugged his shoulders. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded too. Indeed, he had inquired after Jian Er if there indeed existed someone that could reverse time and bring back the dead. Jian Er said he had heard legends about it, but he did not know who had done it or how he had obtained those powers. But to Jian Er, it had to be at least a master of Holy Land. Even those are few and far between at the absolute beginning divine world, much less the eternal chaotic world. The strongest person he knew was Emperor 13, but at Emperor 13's pinnacle, he could only wrestle master of Holy Land experts. It's impossible for now. Maybe when the chance comes, Jian Wushuang said. Wang Yuan and Su Ro nodded. Like that they drank for 3 days and 3 nights before leaving. After they had left, a man and a woman appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Father, mother. Jian Wushuang stood up and smiled. They were his parents, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming. Shuang, I heard you're making preparations for heaven's horizon? Jian Nantian glanced at Jian Wushuang. Jian Nantian, as an emperor god, and the leader of the Green Fire world, naturally knew about the secrets of the eternal chaotic world. Indeed, Jian Wushuang nodded. For Leng Rushuang? Jian Nantian. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Father, you should understand. I do. Jian Nantian looked at him solemnly. Of course, he knew Jian Wushuang's objective and his determination. He knew him. Some time ago for Ji Wuming, he had given up too much. Through luck, he had been reunited with Ji Wuming. Now it was his son's turn. I do not know much about the ancient era experts, but I trust you, Jian Nantian said. Do it, remember you are a man. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and looked at Ji Wuming. The latter looked at him with concern, and without saying much. But that look alone was enough to warm Jian Wushuang up. Father, mother, there is still some time between now and the opening of the link passage. Let's spend some family time together. Jian Wushuang laughed. Sure. Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming did not refuse. The 3 of them made their way around Green Fire World. Green Fire World was huge and impossible to fully cover in 200 years, even with their skills. Jian Wushuang could only head to familiar places. Like Tang of the East, Jian Wushuang had fought against Leng Di, Dao Yuanzi's Crimson God clone and Xia clan. He had wed Leng Rushuang there as well. The place contained many memories, but since Tang Emperor, Emperor Shao and Yang Zishuan had died, and Tang of the East had been eradicated, there was nothing left. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.